Sora's eyes snap open, a familiar dread washing over him. He was back in this terrible place again. He stood on a floating island of cracked stone, surrounded by a hazy twilight. The ruins of ancient crumbling buildings littered the desolate landscape, a graveyard with no signs of life. But then, he saw it, a figure in the distance. Hope sparked for a second, wondering if it was another human. The hope vanished as a hulking figure with immense power landed before him. With glowing eyes and an imposing aura, the man declared that he was waiting for Sora at the edge of the abyss. Sora's eyes fly open as he gasps for air, the haunting images of his dream still fresh. It was that weird nightmare again. His mom's voice cuts through the haze, yelling that he's going to be late. Shaking it off, he heads to the bathroom, but the strange word, abyss, echoes in his mind. He dismisses it as stress from studying too much. Just then, his dad appears and playfully ruffles his hair for oversleeping. Annoyed, Sora insists he isn't a little kid anymore. His dad just laughs, proudly flexing his muscles. Utterly embarrassed, Sora turns away, declaring that it's just gross. As Sora gets ready, he silently wishes he didn't have to see his dad shirtless in their tiny apartment every morning. His father's voice chimes in with a familiar promise to buy a big house one day, so Sora and his brother can have their own rooms. Unimpressed, Sora spits in the sink, thinking he's heard that same old story for 5 years. At the breakfast table, he observes his family, his goofy but unreliable dad and his mom, who seems strict but is full of love. For a fleeting moment, everything feels perfect. He wishes it could stay this way forever. Suddenly, the entire building starts to shake violently. Amid the chaos, Sora has one clear thought. He always knew this world would end. The world wasn't ending, at least, not in the way he thought. Instead, a colossal tower erupted from the earth, tearing through the city like a nightmare made real. Sora stared out the window, his mind reeling. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Fighter jets screamed past, a testament to the chaos unfolding. He didn't know then that this structure would change humanity's fate, but he had a gut feeling it was connected to his dreams. He remembered his older brother's words before leaving for duty, a promise to just follow orders and come back soon. After that night, they never heard from him again. Initially, the news promised safety if they just stayed home. But that lie crumbled fast. Reports flooded in. 20 of those monstrous towers had appeared all over the world. Soon, the television went dead, replaced by static. The only thing left was the radio, repeating a chilling message: evacuate to the shelter. Before leaving, his mom wrote a letter for his brother. On the streets, chaos reigned. Sora saw things that would be burned into his memory forever. A military truck rumbled past, its surface covered in deep, ugly scars. He looked at the soldiers inside and saw nothing but pure, unfiltered despair in their eyes. The streets were a graveyard of abandoned cars, and a foul stench filled the air. Sora and his family pushed through the chaos, finally reaching the temporary shelter inside a huge gym. The place was packed to the brim with refugees, but it was dead silent. The air was thick with despair, and it felt like everyone was simply waiting on death row. His dad called him over to an empty spot. But even in a place like this, humanity's ugly side showed itself. A hulking guy strolled up to a small kid and snatched a piece of bread right out of his hands, proving some people are just the worst. The young boy desperately tried to defend himself, shouting that he hadn't stolen anything. He claimed the brute had already eaten his own share, but the big guy wasn't interested in talking. A powerful shove sent the small child stumbling back. The other refugees watched in silence, too afraid to get involved. The bully loomed over the crying kid, sneering that since the boy was full, he was just borrowing the bread. He added a cruel jab, saying the kid wouldn't last long anyway. But before he could go any further, Sora's dad, Mukushima, stepped up. He confronted the thug, demanding he return the food. The bully just scoffed, telling the geezer to back off. The bully snarled, telling Sora's dad to shut up. But Mukushima wasn't about to back down. In a flash, he closed the distance between them. A single, powerful motion sent the hulking thug crashing to the floor, gasping for air. Without a second glance, Mukushima calmly retrieved the stolen bread and returned it to the grateful child. From the ground, the bully seethed with pure hatred, spitting in disgust. Sora looked on, worried, but his father just told him not to worry. He'd keep an eye on the guy. The bully, however, made a silent vow. He would never forget this humiliation. Sora's mind drifted to a painful memory, a face he couldn't forget. Kagawa Eiji. This was the guy who made his school days a living nightmare, a total piece of work who took pleasure in tormenting him. But before he could dwell on the past, an emergency alarm shattered the tense silence. A soldier burst into the room, yelling for everyone to evacuate immediately to a high-mobility vehicle behind the shelter. An older man in a sharp suit stepped forward, demanding to know why. The soldier nervously replied that the information was confidential. That was the wrong answer. The old man exploded with rage, grabbing the soldier. He furiously shouted they couldn't be locked up for 2 days and then be given zero explanation. The old man's rage boiled over as he berated the soldier, demanding answers. But the confrontation was cut short. A massive force slammed against the shelter doors, throwing the soldier to the ground. He scrambled backward, screaming that they were coming and everyone needed to run. Sora immediately pushed his parents forward, a terrible feeling washing over him. The soldier tried desperately to hold the doors, yelling for everyone to get to the vehicle. It was no use. The doors burst open, revealing a horde of horrifying armed creatures. Chaos erupted as the refugees screamed in terror. Sora's eyes widened, fixed on one particularly monstrous beast. He couldn't comprehend what he was seeing. The shelter exit became a bottleneck of pure panic. People shoved and screamed, desperate to escape the monstrous horde pouring into the building. Sora's parents were swept up in the current, yelling his name and urging him to keep up. But the frantic crowd was too much. He was being pushed back, separated from his family. A look of terror and resignation crossed his face as he realized the awful truth. He screamed at his parents to go on without him, telling them he couldn't make it. In the chaos, Sora lost his footing and was immediately swallowed by the stampeding mob, the world vanishing under a crush of running feet. As the truck pulled away, Sora's father leaned out, desperately reaching for his son's hand. But the other people on board pushed back, screaming that it was already full and telling him not to drag them down. One man coldly told him that if he was going to hesitate, he should get off. Seeing the futility, his father yelled that he'd find another car. But a quick glance around confirmed Sora's worst fear. Every other vehicle was packed. Hope was dwindling fast. Then he saw it, the last truck. In a burst of adrenaline, he sprinted, shoving another desperate survivor out of his way to reach it. Just as he reached the last truck, a hand reached down. Hope surged through Sora as he grabbed on, thanking his rescuer with a relieved smile. But his hope instantly shattered. The man, Kagawa Eiji, stared down with a twisted, hateful grin. He coldly mocked Sora's gratitude, telling him he should be the one saying thanks. With pure malice in his eyes, Kagawa declared that Sora could perish in his dad's place. Then, he violently shoved Sora away. Losing his grip, Sora tumbled backward off the moving vehicle. His last glimpse was of the truck speeding away, leaving him utterly alone in the chaos. Sora hit the ground hard, the fall knocking the wind out of him. Left behind and surrounded by monsters, he screamed that he didn't want to die. He desperately pleaded for anyone, for someone to help him. Just as his vision blurred with despair, a glowing, ethereal man appeared right before his eyes. Sora froze. It was him, the mysterious old geezer from his recurring dreams. The figure's eyes shined with an otherworldly light as his voice boomed in Sora's head. He declared that he would be waiting for Sora at the end of the abyss. Then, a swirling dark portal ripped open, ready to swallow him whole. Sora wakes up on barren, cracked earth. Dazed, he clutches his head and wonders if the portal and the mysterious man were all just a terrible nightmare. He pushes himself up, his eyes wide with confusion as he asks himself where he is. But he gets no time to find an answer. A massive stone hammer suddenly smashes into the ground right beside his head, missing him by inches. Terrified, Sora looks up to see a monstrous green-skinned creature towering over him. He scrambles backward in sheer panic, his mind racing. Where were his parents? Why was he all alone in this desolate wasteland? He questions if this is hell, or if he's already dead. A sharp rock zips past Sora's head, grazing his cheek. He cries out in pain, his mind reeling from the chaos. He doesn't understand. Why are these monsters only targeting him? With no other choice, he scrambles to his feet and runs for his life. Flashes of the past few hours assault his mind. The sudden appearance of the giant tower, Kagawa's wicked grin as he betrayed him, and the mysterious old geezer who sent him to this hellish place. Lost in the terrifying memories, he fails to see another monster right in front of him. The creature lunges, raising its weapon to bring it down with full force. Cornered and desperate, Sora's fear finally snaps, replaced by pure rage. He curses the monsters and everyone who put him in this nightmare. With a furious roar, he screams for them all to die. As the creature swings its weapon, Sora unleashes a desperate punch, his fist glowing with an eerie purple light. He smashes it into the monster's chest with incredible force. The creature collapses, lifeless. Sora falls to his knees, breathing heavily, shocked that he actually survived. As he stares at the defeated beast, he notices strange black runes carved into its chest. Suddenly, a dark, jagged crystal materializes from the body, hovering in the air right before him. Sora stares at the hovering crystal, completely baffled by what it is. Before he can even process the situation, the dark shard zips through the air and phases directly into his chest. He stumbles back in shock, but the pain he expects never comes. Instead, he touches his cheek and finds the gash from earlier has vanished. A warm energy surges through him, and he clenches his fists, feeling a new, unfamiliar strength. He realizes that defeating these monsters makes him stronger, just like in a game. Knowing there could be others nearby, Sora picks up a crude club from the fallen creature and cautiously begins to scout the area. After a full sweep of the area, Sora confirms he's alone. With no immediate threats, his gaze lifts to an unbelievable sight, a massive, floating island covered in ancient ruins. Looking around, he discovers a crude staircase hanging in midair along the cliffside, leading up toward the strange landmass. He wonders if this incredibly dangerous path is his only way out. The island is shrouded in smoke, looking like the perfect place for monsters to hide, just like in a video game. Despite the obvious danger, it's his only lead. With no other options, Sora grips his weapon and starts his perilous climb into the unknown. With his heart pounding in his chest, Sora carefully ascends the floating staircase. He knows this isn't a game, there are no respawns here, and one slip could be his last. After a terrifying climb, he finally pulls himself onto solid ground, gasping that he made it. The stairs lead directly into a dark, foreboding ruin. Staying on guard, he peeks inside and finds an unlit torch. After getting it lit, he enters a large chamber where a strange tombstone sits before a massive sealed door. He places the torch atop the stone altar, and as he backs away, two glowing red marks suddenly ignite on the wall ahead. Sora creeps into the ancient ruins, his makeshift axe held tight. He grabs an unlit torch from a wall sconce and gets a flame going, pushing back the crushing darkness. The flickering light reveals a huge, empty chamber with a lone tombstone sitting before a sealed gate. He sets the torch on the stone, and its surface lights up with strange, glowing text. Sora can't read the bizarre characters, but their meaning floods directly into his brain. The message is a quest: collect all the fragments belonging to someone called the Inscriber, and he'll be allowed to escape the abyss. A smirk finally breaks through his fear. He has a mission. With newfound purpose, Sora pushes the massive stone gate open. As light floods the chamber, he finally understands the rules of this deadly game. The abyss is split into floors, and each level is bigger and more dangerous than the one before. To advance, he has to hunt down the special monsters marked with the floor number. These creatures hold the fragments that are the key to unlocking the next area. He recalls the battles he's already won to get here. Having conquered the first 3 floors and collected their keys, Sora now steps through the gateway, bracing himself for the challenges of Floor 4. Sora braces himself, knowing the true challenge is just beginning. The worst part? With every floor he climbs, the area doubles, making the key that much harder to find. On top of that, the number of monsters skyrockets, swarming him at every turn. He fights desperately against savage beasts, pushing past his limits. But with each victory, Sora feels himself growing stronger, adapting to the brutal world of the abyss. He grits his teeth and unleashes his power, slowly evolving. Time blurs into an endless cycle of battle. After countless floors, a seasoned Sora looks out over the vast landscape, a survivor forged in the fires of the abyss. The higher Sora climbed, the more monsters swarmed him. He even encountered the same beast that attacked the shelter back on the 12th floor. But the creature stood no chance against him now. With every endless wave of enemies he cut down, his emotions grew more numb. System notifications confirmed the terrifying reality. The monster count was exploding with each level. By the 30th floor, he faced a staggering 500 million foes. Finding the single keyholder in that chaotic horde was like searching for a contact lens in a desert. He was trapped in long, grueling days filled with nothing but despair. The grind was brutal. Finding the keyholder on each floor was a total nightmare. Because the monsters weren't dumb, they used strategies to survive. Some hid deep within massive packs, protected by hordes of their brethren. Others lurked in the darkest caves, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But the absolute worst? The ones he only found after annihilating every single monster on the floor. It was a soul-crushing task. Still, no matter how impossible the search felt, Sora never stopped. He fought through endless waves of enemies, his eyes always locked on the gateway to the next level, determined to keep moving forward. Sora pushed open the massive doors to the 42nd floor, only to be met with an unbelievable sight. The sky was completely blotted out by winged monsters, and the ground was a living sea of over 2 trillion enemies. But something inside him had changed. Instead of feeling despair, Sora started to laugh. A wild cackle that echoed over the horde. His hair had turned bone white, and his eyes glowed with a terrifying purple light. He reveled in the chaos, a manic grin spreading across his face as he unleashed his power. He briefly wondered how many years he'd been trapped here, before dismissing the thought. In this endless hell, time was no longer a valid concept. An immense stone tablet stood amidst the desolation, its surface completely covered in countless tally marks, a silent testament to the ages Sora had spent here. In this forsaken land, only 2 things existed: the end of monsters and him being the cause of it. He knelt on a ground of shattered rock and bone, surrounded by hulking, grotesque beasts wielding massive axes. They towered over him, a wall of muscle and malice, But Sora was no longer a victim. He rose, a blur of white hair and purple light, and unleashed a storm of absolute destruction, tearing through the horde with unstoppable, manic force. The fight finally ends. Sora stands over the remains of another defeated creature, plucking the key from the wreckage. He's lost count of how many he's taken down. The number has become meaningless. Instead of trying to remember, he stumbles through the desolate landscape to a massive stone wall, his own twisted calendar. It's covered in an endless sea of tally marks, a testament to the ages he's spent in this hell. He carves another line into the stone. Just as he thinks it's about time he found the key, the ground trembles violently. A shockwave of pure energy erupts, and from the dust emerges a new figure, Sora, forged by eons of combat into an absolute powerhouse. His transformation complete, Sora is immediately confronted by a new, terrifying foe. A massive, insect-like behemoth with glowing red eyes erupts from the ruined landscape. Ignoring its intimidating presence, Sora sizes it up with a cold, detached gaze. He notes its flashy appearance before demanding to know if it's the key he seeks. The monster responds with pure aggression, slamming a giant, spiked appendage down with enough force to shatter the earth. But Sora moves like a phantom, effortlessly dodging the blow. He reflects that no matter how powerful his enemies are, the result is always the same. In the next instant, he's in the creature's face, unleashing a cataclysmic punch that rocks its entire body. The behemoth disintegrates from the force of his blow, crumbling into a pile of rock and dust. Sora stands amidst the wreckage, his frustration growing. He reflects that every monster, no matter how intimidating, meets the same fate. They fall after a single hit. This overwhelming power has become meaningless. It doesn't bring him any closer to his goal. Standing barefoot on the broken ground, he clenches his fist, his patience completely gone. He unleashes a furious roar, demanding the true key to the 42nd floor to finally show itself. He is completely sick of this endless, pointless cycle of destruction. In the year 2020, the world changed in an instant. 20 massive, glowing towers suddenly erupted from the ground, appearing in cities across the globe without any warning. Before humanity could even begin to figure out what was happening, it was already too late. Hordes of grotesque monsters swarmed out from these mysterious structures, unleashing absolute chaos and devastation on an unsuspecting population. With terrifying roars, the creatures tore through the streets, turning cities into ruins. This was the start of a desperate new era for mankind. A fight for survival against an overwhelming and unknown enemy that had appeared overnight. The monster invasion was swift and devastating. Most of humanity was wiped out in the chaos, a dark period forever known as Judgment Day. But just when humanity teetered on the brink of collapse, a miracle occurred. Survivors began to awaken. A mysterious system window appeared before them, granting incredible combat abilities out of nowhere. These newly empowered individuals, the Awakened, didn't hide. They organized, forming powerful hunter guilds to fight back. From the ashes of the old world, they rebuilt society and prepared to march into the very towers that had brought about their doom. This was humanity's counterattack. Just as his roar fades, a strange horned beast materializes out of nowhere. But before Sora can move, he hears something impossible: human voices. Panicked shouts echo around him, demanding to see his stats and yelling about an advanced transfer scroll. Sora freezes, completely stunned. He hasn't heard another person speak in ages. Suddenly, the beast is engulfed in a blinding flash of energy. The intense light solidifies, forming a shimmering gateway. After countless years trapped in this desolate realm, Sora's eyes go wide with disbelief. Could this finally be it? An exit from the abyss? His mind races with a single, overwhelming thought. Hope ignites within Sora. An exit. He immediately lunges toward the shimmering gateway, his one chance to escape this hell. But a system warning appears, stating the portal can only transfer 2 beings. Sora doesn't care. After years of isolation, he won't be denied. A defiant grin crosses his face as he declares that no one will get in his way. He seizes the glowing chains that make up the portal, trying to rip it open with sheer force. At the same moment, back on Earth near S City, a pink-haired hunter named Yu Sonozaki stares ahead in absolute shock. Yu Sonozaki sprints through a dark, eerie forest, her breath catching in her throat. She knows she can't let her pursuers keep chasing her. Panic sets in as she glances over her shoulder, but in that split second, her foot snags on a gnarled root. She tumbles hard to the unforgiving ground. Before she can recover, a thorny vine snakes out from the darkness, wrapping tightly around her arm. She struggles, but it's useless. 2 figures emerge from the gloom, a level 34 druid named Aika and her hulking companion. Aika looks down at the trapped girl with disdain, calling her a hassle before demanding the advanced transfer scroll. Aika sneers, telling Yu a level 60 scroll is too much for a level 15 newbie. Panicked, Yu shouts that hunters attacking each other is forbidden, it's against the rules. But a hulking level 38 barbarian named Shosei Toshida just laughs. He smashes his massive weapon into the ground right beside her, declaring that he makes the rules here. He demands she hand over the scroll, but Yu's fear twists into pure defiance. Warning him not to push her any further, she grips the scroll tightly as it erupts in a blinding light. Her attackers look on in shock as they realize what's happening. She's activating a force transfer. Aika realizes what's happening and screams for her partner to stop the force summon. But it's too late. Enraged, the massive barbarian lunges forward, roaring for Yu to give him the scroll. He swings his blade through the blinding magical light, managing to strike her down. As Yu hits the ground, wounded, a glowing teleportation circle materializes beneath her. Her attacker freezes, staring in utter disbelief at the sight. A smirk crosses Yu's face as she declares that if she's going down, she's taking them with her. A new destination has been set, and they've all got a one-way ticket. Yu glares up at her attackers, shouting that they're all coming with her. It's a forced summon. Aika's face drains of color as she realizes what's happening. A monster summoned by force can't be controlled. This is the end. She screams for Shosei to stop her now, but it's far too late. A violent torrent of blue energy erupts from the scroll, shattering the ground around them. With a final, hate-filled roar, Yu unleashes the spell's full power. A massive vortex tears open the sky as a bolt of lightning slams into the earth, blasting everyone off their feet and into the chaotic storm. As the blinding light fades, Sora and the others find themselves in a creepy mist-filled forest. The energy from the scroll crackles, and a small monster appears, a level 3 Cerberus. The attackers, Aika and Shoji, burst out laughing. They can't believe Yu sacrificed her life to summon such a weak creature. Aika scoffs that the scroll she died protecting was just a joke, but then the ground begins to shake violently. Before Shoji can finish his laugh, a massive, gnarled hand erupts from the earth, striking him down instantly. Aika freezes, her face twisted in pure terror. The pathetic puppy wasn't the real summon. This was before anyone can react. The Cerberus clones are torn to pieces in a bloody storm. A dark silhouette with glowing red eyes stands over the carnage, radiating pure power. Aika and the others can only stare in disbelief, terrified by the humanoid monster that has just appeared. Barely conscious, Yu looks up in shock, recognizing the impossible figure before her. The summoned being, a scarred man with wild white hair, whispers that he is finally free. With a triumphant roar, he rises from the dark portal, his red eye burning with rage. He screams to the heavens, finally celebrating his escape from his nightmarish prison. A terrifying laugh echoes through the swirling vortex. Sora and the others are tossed about like dolls, crushed by an overwhelming pressure. The sheer force of this newcomer's presence is paralyzing, freezing them with raw fear. Amidst the chaos, someone gasps, wondering just who this monster could be. Sora crashes into the ground of a misty, desolate graveyard. He struggles to his feet and comes face to face with the source of the immense power. The scarred, white-haired man from the summon. The being stands over him, his single red eye glowing with menacing power as he surveys his new surroundings and the people caught within them. The scarred man grabs a nearby survivor, his red eye wide with disbelief as he asks if this is really Earth. She confirms it, and a wave of pure joy washes over him. He throws his head back and laughs, shouting that he's finally made it back home after all this time. But the celebration is cut short. Two rough-looking thugs from the Kashu Guild appear, mocking their strange appearance. The leader, a brute with a bandana, warns them not to disrespect his guild. He launches himself forward, bringing a massive blade down with enough force to split the earth. The attack is easily caught with one hand. The brute stares, dumbfounded, realizing he didn't attack a person, he attacked a monster. The guild member's bravado shatters. He stares in pure horror, screaming that he's facing a monster. In a flash, the scarred man grabs the thug by the throat, lifting him into the air like he's nothing. Dark energy crackles around them as the white-haired being demands to see his number. The brute chokes, completely confused by the questions. Suddenly, the monster hesitates. He glares down at his own hand, flexing his long claw-like fingers in frustration. A look of annoyance crosses his face as he curses his current form. Releasing his grip, he lets the thug drop to the ground, utterly defeated and gasping for air. The defeated guild members look on in terror as their boss lies on the ground. With a cold glare, the scarred man dismisses them. As they flee into the woods, their leader screams that he'll regret this. Yu Sonozaki watches him, shaken by his terrifying strength and the web of scars covering his back. She wonders if he's a demon summoned from the abysses. Suddenly, he turns to her, his glowing eye locking onto hers. He demands to know how many years have passed since the tower appeared. Startled, she replies that it's been 5 years. He presses further, questioning what the transfer scroll and her strange outfit are all about. Yu explains that after the tower arrived, a strange system awakened within humans. She pulls up a device showing a news report. In the last 5 years, a third of the world's cities have fallen. The screen shows footage of S City, which just suffered its 7th major invasion. The scarred man's eyes widen in sheer horror. That was his home. He grabs her, demanding to know what's happening there now. Trembling, she tells him the city is already in ruins, but strong fighters were sent to handle the monsters. Ignoring her words, he just asks for directions. She points, and he vanishes in a flash, leaving her completely stunned. Back in the forest, Yu Zonozaki stands alone, shaken by the stranger's sudden departure. Realizing a powerful new figure has emerged, she resolves to report this encounter to her leader at once. Meanwhile, the Koshu Guild members flee through the ruined city, their boss fuming over his humiliating defeat. Their escape is cut short as a swirl of dark energy erupts before them, revealing a hooded figure with a menacing, glowing eye. This new threat declares that he can sense the scarred man's presence on them. He gives the terrified thugs 3 seconds to tell him where he is. The leader just scowls, yelling back that he's full of it. A mysterious figure declares that time is up, unleashing a devastating wave of energy. In a single blinding flash, an entire party is annihilated. System windows confirm the grim outcome. Aika, the druid, Shoji the swordsman, and Shaosei the barbarian have all been eliminated. Back at the Tiger's Roar Guild, a woman reports the failure. All life signals from Toshida's team are gone, and they've also lost track of Yu Sonozaki and a critical scroll. Her superior, the powerful storm priest Mukai Licht, is furious. Realizing they were defeated in one blow, he orders his subordinate to find the person responsible. His final command is absolute: capture Sonozaki, no matter what. In a high-rise office, a blonde-haired leader stares out at the city, declaring that anyone who harms his people will pay dearly. Suddenly, Sora bursts past him in a flash, leaving the man completely stunned. He's hit by the overwhelming scent of intense conflict clinging to the intruder. His eyes widen as he gazes at the devastation outside, realizing it's a fallen zone. This invasion is on another level. A major force is on the move. He understands that after 5 years of dormancy, the tower is finally awakening. Recognizing the extreme danger, he immediately orders all search squads to fall back. A massive crisis is here. Sora lands on a rooftop, his gaze sweeping over the fallen city. He reflects on the 5 agonizing years he was trapped in the abyss. While his world descended into chaos, that unforgiving realm was forging him into a weapon. He remembers his past self, a terrified boy, screaming as he was overwhelmed by monstrous beasts, but that was a lifetime ago. In the abyss, he didn't just survive, he became stronger. Now, as a hulking creature swings its massive weapon, Sora stands his ground. He deflects the bone-crushing blow with ease. The constant fight for his life had hardened him, dulling his senses to the carnage. He is no longer the boy who ran. In the abyss, survival pushed him to the absolute edge. He was on the verge of becoming a beast, forced to do unthinkable things just to see the next day. But just as he was about to lose himself completely, the memory of his family pulled him back from the brink. They were his anchor in that desolate realm. The very monsters that once paralyzed him with fear were now just pests. He swatted a flying creature from the sky without a second thought, his power absolute. All he could think about was his mom, dad, and brother, praying that they were safe. Sora finds himself in the desolate ruins of City. What was once a bustling metropolis is now a ghost town, with buildings shattered as if shaken by a massive earthquake. Yet, there are no monsters, no signs of recent conflict. It's eerily quiet. He quickly figures out why. Everyone was evacuated. This entire area has been abandoned for years. Despite the bleak scenery, a sense of relief washes over him. After 5 agonizing years in that hellish dimension, he's finally back. With a determined look, he whispers that he's home. He clenches his fist and smashes straight through a concrete wall, creating his own doorway. Sora walks through the rubble of his old home. He knew no one would be here, but he had to come back to the place that held his best memories. On a dusty, broken table, he finds a letter. It's from his family. The words hit him like a tidal wave. They told him that while the rest of the world believed he was gone, they never gave up hope. They risked their lives to return to this dangerous city, setting up his room just as he left it. Overwhelmed, Sora breaks down, tears of relief and sorrow streaming down his face. They even left him clothes and a map to their shelter. Clutching the precious photo of his family, the dam finally breaks. Tears he held back for 5 agonizing years stream down his face, a raw display of his relief and sorrow. But his grief quickly hardens into cold resolve. He summons a dagger, staring into his own hardened reflection. He wonders if the monstrous strength he gained is enough to end this nightmare world and reclaim everything he lost. In a flash of light, his long hair shortens, revealing a scarred but determined face. The boy who was dragged into the abyss is gone. A warrior stands in his place with a single, clear objective. He sets his sights on his destination, the 6th shelter. Sora surveyed the sprawling urban graveyard. The map said to go east, but the roads were completely gone, swallowed by craters and rubble. A normal person would be stuck, but Sora wasn't normal anymore. He smirked, deciding that a straight line was the fastest path. He took a running leap, launching himself off the edge of a skyscraper and soaring through the air. But his little shortcut was interrupted. A massive, winged beast materialized from the clouds, its body crackling with energy. The creature came at him, ready to attack. Sora met it head-on in the sky, a blur of motion as he passed right through the monster, silencing it instantly before continuing his high-speed parkour across the ruined city. The ruined city erupts with deafening booms, but the guards at the 6th shelter just think it's their imagination. One complains about the noise, but his partner tells him to lay off the drinks. Guard duty is boring, after all. Suddenly, a white streak blasts right past their faces, too fast for the eye to follow. They spin around, completely stunned. Another soldier runs up, shouting that he caught the blur on camera. They all stare out at the impossible sight. A single figure is leaping between skyscrapers, carving a path of destruction. They can't believe what they're seeing. It's a person. Sora's high-speed tour of the city is cut short by a scream. He finds a lone woman cornered by 3 armed thugs. She pleads with them, explaining she was only looking for food, but they aren't listening. The leader smirks, noting how long it's been since they've seen a woman and promising to take good care of her. The woman yells for them to stay back, but they close in, their intentions clear. One of them reaches for her, promising to be gentle with a sickening grin. Just as he lunges, a foot slams into the pavement nearby, cracking the stone. A cold voice cuts through the air, commenting that they're still the same old trash. The thugs spin around, shouting to see who's there. They find Sora standing on the rubble, his eyes glowing with contempt as he calls them scum. The leader, unimpressed, threatens Sora and orders his men to attack. They charge forward, convinced they can take him down. They were dead wrong. Sora moves in a flash, a blur of silent, brutal efficiency. Before the thugs can even react, a series of heavy impacts echoes through the alley. In the blink of an eye, all 3 of them are on the pavement, completely neutralized. The fight was over before it even started. Sora stands over them, not a single scratch on him. The last thug on the ground tries to save face, spitting threats about being from the Tora Roar Guild. He warns Sora that his guild won't let this slide. But Sora isn't listening. A violent memory flashes in his mind. A white-haired figure, overwhelmed, calling out a name, Eiji Kagawa. Sora moves forward, grabbing the thug by his hair and yanking his head back. With ice in his veins, he asks if the man even remembers the face of the person he eliminated. The thug's bravado instantly shatters, replaced by pure, unadulterated terror. He finally recognizes him, stammering out a single, dreaded name. Mukushima. The thug's mind shatters. He screams that it's impossible, yelling in pure terror and asking how Sora could possibly still be alive. But this is not the same person he remembers. A terrifying purple aura erupts around Sora as he calmly advances, his eyes glowing with cold power. He offers a chilling smirk, confirming the man's worst nightmare has just come true. In a flash, Sora's hand snaps around the thug's throat, lifting him off the ground with ease. The man chokes and struggles, but he's completely powerless. Sora leans in, his voice low and menacing, and explains that he clawed his way back from hell. Sora tightens his grip, a cruel smile spreading across his face. He sarcastically thanks the thug, explaining that because of him, it's now the man's turn to be dragged into an abyss of his own. He promises to strip away every shred of his dignity. As Sora makes this vow, a terrifying red energy explodes from his body, swirling with shadowy, monstrous faces. Within this storm of dark power, a new figure emerges in Sora's mind, the white-haired man from his visions. The entity whispers, feeding Sora's rage and urging him to finish it. He claims this power is Sora's now, promising him that he's the strongest. A flood of memories hits the thug as he stares at the transformed Sora. He recalls a weaker boy he used to torment relentlessly, someone he bullied just for the sick thrill of it. The pain, the humiliation, it was all a game to him. Snapping back to the present, the thug's terror twists into a final, desperate burst of anger. He roars that he'll pay Sora back for this humiliation right now. But his defiance is utterly meaningless. Sora's eyes glow with a chilling light as he moves faster than sight. Before the thug can even process what's happening, a crushing force slams into him, ending his outburst instantly. He collapses, choking on dust and regret. Sora pauses, a flicker of doubt crossing his face as he fears he's becoming a monster just like them. But a memory of Kagawa, tormenting another victim, flashes in his mind, stealing his resolve. He knows that if he lets people like this go free, they will only create more victims. He tells Kagawa that since he failed to end him, he won't return the favor. However, he absolutely cannot just let him walk away. Terrified, Kagawa asks what's going to happen. Sora calmly lists out the punishment, preparing to deliver payback for every single one of his crimes. One for the 2 years of schoolyard torment, and another for preying on the weak. Sora lays out the grim terms. If Kagawa can withstand 4 punches, his slate will be wiped clean. The bully, completely broken, grabs onto Sora and begs for his life. He knows he can't survive even a single blow from this new, monstrous power. Sora grabs him by the collar, a chilling smile on his face, as he promises to go easy, but his version of easy is terrifying. The first impact lands with brutal finality, followed instantly by the second. The others can only watch in shocked silence, as the relentless punishment continues, leaving a grim scene in its wake as Sora counts the 3rd blow. With the 4th punch announced, Sora looms over the fallen bully, his silhouette glowing with menacing power as he orders him to get up. But Kagawa is broken, pleading for no more. He begs Sora to just end it all. Instead, the punishment continues until the bully is completely incapacitated. Sora coldly observes that leaving him without the use of his limbs and sight would be a fair price for his crimes. He then turns his attention to the other thugs, who are frozen in fear. In a calm voice, Sora instructs them to take their leader to the hospital. They immediately scramble to obey, calling him Sir. With the bully dealt with, Sora delivers a final, chilling warning. Never appear before him again. He declares the trash cleanup finished and announces it's time to move on. With a single, powerful leap, he launches into the sky, his mind fixed on his one true goal, going home. The scene shifts to the desolate ruins of the city's buffer zone, where a unit of soldiers is on patrol. One nervously wishes for an easier post on the wall, where they don't have to worry about monsters. Another soldier just laughs, teasing his comrade for being a coward. Their banter is cut short as their commander sharply orders them to stay alert. Commander Kagura Tanji's unit is on high alert, though one soldier gripes that monsters rarely show up in the buffer zone. His words are barely out of his mouth when chaos erupts. A blur of sharp tendrils tears through their patrol, a prelude to the horrifying creature that emerges from the rubble. A level 45 Kraken spawn. Tanji desperately orders his men to maintain formation and fire at will. Their bullets spark harmlessly against its impenetrable hide. Panic sets in as the commander screams that their weapons have no effect. Its level is just too high to handle. Commander Tanji's unit unloads their ammo, but the bullets spark harmlessly against the Kraken spawn's tough hide. The soldiers are completely outmatched, but just as they brace for the end, the monster's relentless assault suddenly stops. One of the men looks up in confusion, realizing the creature is frozen in place. The massive beast begins to tremble, its giant eye wide with what looks like pure terror. Staring in disbelief, the commander questions what's happening. A shocking realization dawns on him as a manic grin spreads across his face. This unstoppable monster is afraid of something that has just arrived on the scene. The commander doesn't care what has the monster spooked. He just sees an opportunity. He screams at his men that now is their chance to attack. One of the soldiers pulls the pin on an explosive and hurls it with all his might, roaring for the beast to go down. A massive fireball engulfs the Kraken spawn, shaking the entire street. As the smoke clears, the soldiers hold their breath, asking if they succeeded. But their hope immediately shatters. The creature stands completely unharmed, its armored body now crackling with a furious energy. It survived the blast without a scratch. One soldier can only stare in silent, abject horror, just as despair sets in. The Kraken spawn lunges forward, its massive tendril ready to wipe them all out. But before it can strike, the sky splits open. A brilliant pillar of light erupts from above, crashing down directly onto the monster. The soldiers are blown back by the sheer force of the impact. When the blinding flash finally fades, the unstoppable creature is nothing more than a memory. Commander Tanji stares in utter disbelief, finally understanding what the monster was so terrified of. It wasn't something, it was someone. A mysterious man now stands where the beast fell, his presence completely dominating the battlefield. Commander Tanji is completely floored. He mutters that the Kraken spawn shrugged off a massive explosion without a scratch, yet this mysterious man just erased it in a single blow. He knows that only a handful of S-class individuals possess that kind of destructive power, but he's never seen this guy before. Determined to learn his identity, Tanji activates his advanced reconnaissance skill to scan the stranger. But instead of stats, a blaring red alert flashes in his vision. The system itself issues a warning, commanding him to show respect. The commander's face twists in shock. His skill is completely blocked. He can't see any informations. Suddenly, Commander Tenji starts seizing uncontrollably before collapsing to the ground. His men rush to his side in a panic, yelling that their second lieutenant is down and screaming for a medic. The mysterious man, unfazed by the chaos, simply approaches another soldier with a question. He asks for the location of Refuge Area G, visibly terrified. The soldier stammers that it's about 50 kilometers to the north, but his face drains of all color as he delivers a chilling warning. To get to the refuge, the man would have to travel through the dreaded and notoriously dangerous Area X. Sora repeats the name, Area X, his expression unreadable. The soldier explains it's a containment zone where they're trying to hold back the monster rush. To limit the damage, they've funneled all the creatures into one place. He adds that many hunters are already inside, battling the horde. This information clicks for Sora. He realizes that defeating monsters in the real world provides item drops, just like in a game. He glances at the chaos, then cuts straight to the point, asking the soldier exactly how strong these monsters are. The soldier, sweating under the pressure, stammers that they're around level 45, a seriously tough opponent. Sora looks almost disappointed, wondering why the soldiers are struggling so much. He asks the man exactly how many monsters over level 45 are in the rush. The soldier nervously replies that there are probably less than 100. Sora internally notes that if creatures this powerful were common, humanity would have already been wiped out. Having heard enough, he thanks the soldier and begins to walk away, heading straight for Area X. But the soldier, filled with desperation and a glimmer of hope, runs to block his path. He calls out, stopping Sora in his tracks, and makes a final selfish plea. The desperate soldier grabs Sora's arm, begging him to go to Area X. He says that with a hunter this powerful on their side, they could save so many people. Unmoved by the plea, Sora simply asks if Area X is the fastest route to his destination, Refuge Area G. The soldier eagerly confirms it is. All right then. Sora agrees, stunning the man into silence. The soldier stammers, asking if that means what he thinks it means. Sora clarifies his intentions with a cold, predatory glint in his eyes. On his way, any monster unlucky enough to cross his path will be completely taken down. A soldier rushes over to his superior officer, relieved to see him finally awake. The groggy second lieutenant asks how long he was out cold. His subordinate tells him it was only about 10 minutes, holding up a glowing potion and explaining that the monster's recovery item worked instantly. Regaining his senses, the lieutenant asks about the mysterious person who had saved them. The soldier replies that he headed north. The officer repeats the direction, and a sudden realization hits him like a truck. With a look of shock, he urgently tells the soldier to wait just a second. He knows exactly where north leads. The second lieutenant's eyes flew open in horror as he grabbed the soldier by his uniform, demanding he repeat himself. Trembling, the subordinate explained that the hunter was simply passing through Area X to get back to Refuge Area G. He added that the man didn't seem the slightest bit concerned, leaving without a moment's hesitation. The officer's face went pale. He knew exactly what kind of death trap Area X was. Realizing the immense power the stranger must possess to walk in so casually, he barked out a frantic order to contact Central Command immediately, leaving his subordinate completely stunned and confused. The lieutenant's jaw tightened as he glanced at his watch. Only 10 minutes remained. He could only hope that the mysterious hunter would make it in time. His subordinate rushed into the tent, demanding to know why they were contacting Central Command. Taking the emergency radio, the officer's expression turned grim. He explained that this mission was different, with highly classified information the grunts weren't cleared to know. As a holographic display flickered to life, he finally revealed the shocking truth. Area X wasn't a defensive line to hold back monsters. It was the central base for a top-secret operation involving a critical relay device. The lieutenant dropped the bombshell. Area X was a designated bombing zone. Back at the bustling Central Command, an operator's console suddenly flashed with an emergency communication from Area B-22. Her superior, the level 58 Flame Magician and Central Commander, Kumagaya Renji, calmly ordered her to patch it through without a second thought. With a swift confirmation, her fingers raced across the keyboard. A holographic screen materialized, displaying the panicked face of Lieutenant Kagura from the field. He rattled off his communication code, desperate to deliver his urgent report, before the mysterious hunter walked straight into a death trap. Lieutenant Kagura's frantic face lit up the command center screen. He urgently reported that a mysterious hunter had wandered into the bombing zone, completely unaware of the impending danger. Commander Kumagaya, however, was unimpressed. Leaning back in his chair, he coldly asked if the lieutenant was simply calling to report his own failure. Taken aback, Kagura denied it, insisting they needed to use the emergency broadcast to warn the man. His voice filled with desperation, he argued that the hunter was incredibly strong. Pleading with his superiors, Kagura shouted that they couldn't just let an asset with that much power be eliminated so carelessly. Commander Kumagaya cut straight to the chase, demanding the hunter's level. On the holographic screen, a stressed Lieutenant Kagura gave a shocking reply. The man's level was completely unknown. The commander let out a scornful laugh. He couldn't believe the nerve. A rule breaker with an unreadable power level had waltzed into a restricted zone, and now Kagura wanted an emergency broadcast to save him. Another officer chimed in, coldly remarking that the hunter would likely be finished off by monsters before they could even send the alert. But back in the field, Kagura smirked. He knew something they didn't. Ready to reveal just how wrong they were, Commander Kumagaya let out a smug laugh, musing that while Kagura lacked brains, he certainly had a talent for comedy. He dismissed the lieutenant as still needing training, unable to act on his own. He then turned to his colleague, the Western commander Tonosaki Mi, and pointed out that Kagura was her subordinate. Tonosaki remained silent, considering her options. She knew she shouldn't interfere, but if Kagura was reported for obstructing the operation, she would be held accountable too. Facing a formidable enemy, she couldn't believe Kumagaya was planning to hinder their own side. Calling him foolish, she reflected on Kagura, whom she had raised with care. Commander Kumagaya lets out a smug laugh, calling Kagura a comedian who still needs training. He then turns to his colleague, the Western commander Tonosaki Mie, and points out that the bumbling lieutenant is her subordinate. Tonosaki remains silent, weighing her options. She can't believe Kumagaya is about to sabotage their own forces out of sheer pettiness. Deciding to take charge, she addresses the holographic screen. Her voice is ice cold as she tells Lieutenant Kagura he'd better have a convincing reason for this stunt. If not, she warns, she will personally bring him before a military tribunal. Kagura is stunned, completely blindsided by the threat. Commander Kumagaya scoffs, demanding Lieutenant Kagura provide a reason they can accept for this interruption. On the holographic screen, Kagura confidently confirms he has one. He drops a bombshell. The mysterious hunter defeated a level 45 Kraken spawn with a single blow. The command center erupts in shock. Kagura explains this feat means the man possesses strength, surpassing an A-rank hunter. Commander Tonosaki is floored, wondering aloud if he could be an S-rank hunter from the military. But another officer reports that's impossible, as all S-rank hunters are currently deployed. Tonosaki turns back to the screen, questioning why Kagura's scouting skill can't read the hunter's level. Lieutenant Kagura drops another bombshell on the command center. He couldn't see the hunter's level at all. He confesses that when he tried using his scouting skill, the insane flood of information completely overwhelmed him and knocked him out cold. His best guess? The mystery man is at least level 100. The room falls silent. Even the arrogant Commander Kumagaya looks dead serious. He clenches his fist, admitting the hunter's strength is extraordinary. But then, he makes a chilling decision. They can't stop the operation for one person. To seal the hunter's fate, the Eastern commander chimes in, agreeing completely. The mission comes first. Eastern Commander Yuasa Nobuo shuts down any further debate, laying out the grim reality of their situation. He explains that this massive operation involves 4 corps and hundreds of thousands of troops. Their battle plan is clear: bomb the zone, then have soldiers clean up any monsters that survive. However, broadcasting an emergency alert to save one man would be a death sentence for everyone else. The sound would act as a beacon, drawing all the monsters to a single point and instantly overwhelming their forces. With a heavy heart, the commander makes the cold, calculated decision. They must sacrifice one life to save thousands. Even for a potential S-rank hunter, the risk is just too great. Lieutenant Kagura makes a final, desperate plea, but his apology means nothing to the high command. On the holographic screen, Commander Tonosaki stares back with cold resolve. She flatly rejects his proposal, declaring that the decision has been made. She argues that they simply can't waste the efforts of hundreds of thousands of troops for the sake of a single person. To seal the deal, the Eastern commander confirms this is the final verdict. The communication link cuts off, leaving Kagura completely stunned. As the call-ended message glows on his phone, his hand trembles with frustration. They've officially decided to abandon Sora. Inside the command tent, an officer places a heavy hand on Kagura's shoulder, trying to console him. He tells the lieutenant that they've done all they can. The officer's own fist is clenched tight, his expression grim as he agrees. The bigger picture, he insists, is what's truly important. They have to follow orders. Kagura stares at the ground, his face a mask of defeat. But as his superiors resign themselves to the cold, hard facts, a flicker of defiance lights up his eyes. He's not accepting this. In a swift, subtle movement, he reaches over and unhooks a set of keys from a nearby soldier's belt. Just as his superiors resign themselves to their orders, one man breaks ranks. Private First Class Matsura makes a mad dash, leaping into a nearby military jeep. His commanding officer screams at him, warning him to get back since the bombing is about to start. From behind the wheel, Matsura yells back, declaring that there are still 6 minutes left, plenty of time to make it. Ignoring furious threats of a court-martial, he slams his foot on the gas and speeds off into the desolate urban wasteland. As the jeep disappears into the dust, the remaining soldiers turn to a stunned Lieutenant Kagura, asking if they should bring the private back. Lieutenant Kagura is told to let it go. His superior coldly states it was the private's decision and that he was prepared for the consequences. Meanwhile, Matsura barrels through the ruined city, desperately gripping the steering wheel. He swears he'll make it in time, but little does he know, the person he's trying to save is in a completely different league now. In a desolate street, Sora, now with white hair and glowing purple eyes, faces a monstrous demon. With a single clenched fist, he unleashes a wave of raw energy that vaporizes the creature. The boy they abandoned has become humanity's hope. Matsura barrels through the city, his frustration growing with every passing second. He can't find any trace of Sora. He's on the fastest route possible, which leads to a terrifying conclusion. The kid might actually be moving faster than a car. The clock on the dashboard ticks relentlessly, a constant reminder that time is running out. Ahead lies the dreaded Area X. A risky idea forms in Matsura's mind. He could use the loudspeaker. Sora would definitely hear it, but so would every monster nearby. It's a massive gamble that could get him killed. Gritting his teeth, he reaches for the button, ready to risk it all. Matsura steals his resolve, deciding his own shortcomings don't matter. He snatches the Jeep's loudspeaker, his voice booming through the desolate city. He shouts his identity, reminding Sora that he's the soldier whose life was saved earlier. With raw desperation, he screams that the entire area will be flattened by a bombing run, and that Sora needs to get out immediately. The warning echoes off the shattered buildings. Miles away, standing over a fallen foe, Sora's head snaps up. He processes the frantic message, his mind latching onto one single unbelievable word: bombing. He was completely unaware of the military's devastating plan. Sora calmly assesses the situation. The monsters around him are no real threat, but a full-scale bombing is a different story. He's not sure even he can withstand that kind of heat. He considers leaving to avoid the risk, but then thinks of the soldier who risked everything to warn him. Matsura came all this way, and Sora decides he can't just let the man perish for his sake. Meanwhile, Matsura sits in his jeep, desperately hoping his message got through. But his hope quickly turns to dread. The broadcast worked a little too well. A winged monster descends from the sky, and he realizes he's attracted a whole lot of unwanted attention. The clock is ticking. Matsura panics, slamming his foot on the gas. He has to escape, and fast. The jeep tears through the devastated streets, but a massive shadow looms over him, shaking the very ground. It's no use. Just as he braces for the end, a sharp tap sounds on his driver's side window. He flinches, turning to see Sora standing there without a scratch. Matsura is completely stunned. Sora says he's glad the soldier is alive, but then cuts straight to the point, asking what he meant by bombing. Before Matsura can even process the question, Sora's eyes lock onto the dashboard clock. 16 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. His face hardens. They are out of time. The clock ticks over to 17 o'clock. Time's up. Immediately, the sky is torn open by the roar of fighter jets as they unleash a torrent of missiles upon the city. The ground erupts in a chain reaction of fire and force, shattering buildings into dust and rubble. Matsura can only watch in horror from inside the jeep, but Sora stands completely still, unfazed by the apocalypse unfolding around him. Just as the street beneath them cracks apart, a colossal pillar of earth shoots upward, lifting Sora and the jeep high above the destruction. Far away, a technician confirms the grim news: the bombing is complete. In the military command center, an officer with glowing eyes demands a situation report. He orders his team to use drones to confirm the extermination and track any survivors. The initial readings look good. A technician reports no signs of life from the surrounding area, but his relief quickly turns to confusion. He questions where the monsters could have gone, only to realize with dawning horror that they never left. Stammering into his headset, the technician reveals the shocking truth. The creatures at the center of the blast are completely unharmed. A nearby commander slams his fist down, shouting that it's impossible. A female officer demands they pull up the drone footage immediately. The drone feed fills the main screen, revealing a massive glowing energy shield covering the monsters and nullifying the attack. The commanders stare in disbelief, wondering how a creature could create such a barrier. But as the camera zooms in, the truth is far more shocking. A cloaked, white-haired figure stands calmly among the beasts, a human. Before anyone can process this revelation, the feed shakes violently. A monster lunges at the camera, crushing the drone with ease. The screen cuts to static. An operator reports that communication is lost. They aren't just fighting monsters. They're fighting an organized army led by a person. The command center explodes into chaos. A cold dread washes over the blonde officer. She senses an intelligence in this new attack that wasn't there before. Her fears are confirmed when a subordinate realizes the creatures knew about the drones all along. They were being toyed with. Leaping to her feet, she orders a full military retreat, screaming for all soldiers to evacuate the garrison and protect the walls. But the situation gets even worse. A technician shouts that the monsters aren't even heading for the walls. Confused and terrified, the officer demands to know their real destination. If not the walls, then where? An operator yells that the monsters are marching on Area B-22. The blonde officer freezes, realizing that's where the mysterious hunter went. With a grim expression, she screams for all remaining drones to be sent to that location. She has to know what could possibly halt the monster's rampage. Down in the smoldering ruins, the bombing stops. A lone soldier, Kagawa Eiji, stumbles out of cover, dazed. He collapses, then shoots back up, laughing hysterically. He survived. He shouts his relief to the heavens, completely unaware of the dark-haired figure standing silently behind him, watching his every move. Sora cuts the soldier's celebration short, warning him that it's too early to be happy. The monsters are still alive and heading straight for them. Before Kagawa can react, Sora shoves him hard, screaming for him to get down. Just then, a military drone smashes into the rubble beside them. Kagawa stares in disbelief, realizing a monster just swatted it out of the sky, a tactic he's never seen. But Sora tells him to save the surprise for later. The ground trembles violently as a massive horde of creatures appears over the ruins. With no time left, Sora gives one final urgent command. Run! Kagawa Eiji's face twists in terror as he scrambles through the rubble. He looks up, and his hope shatters. Towering over the ruins are the highest-level monsters from the Horde, led by a colossal level 90 beast. The soldier realizes with dread that the military's bombing didn't even scratch them. Convinced this is the end, Kagawa collapses in despair. But behind him, Sora remains calm, a smirk playing on his lips. He reasons that if the bombs couldn't harm the creatures, then they were also safe. With his eyes glowing an ominous purple, Sora declares he'll just take care of it himself and leaps into battle. Sora explodes into motion, becoming a phantom of destruction on the battlefield. He blitzes through the horde, his blade a blur of purple light. These are the same monsters that shrugged off military bombs, but against Sora, they simply crumble. He moves faster than the eye can see, a whirlwind of devastating strikes. A massive, cloaked beast with glowing green eyes can only watch as Sora leaps high into the sky. He plummets down like a meteor, his fist shattering the very ground. The high-level monsters are completely outmatched. This isn't a fight, it's a one-sided beatdown, and Sora is just getting started. Sora slams his blade down, finishing off the last high-level beast in a single, devastating blow. But as the creature collapses, a new player enters the field. A mysterious, white-haired man in a dark cloak stands over the monster's remains, a sinister grin spreading across his face. Sora is completely stunned. He never sensed this guy's presence. The figure, identified as the Abyss Seed, raises his hand. Dark, shadowy tendrils erupt from the fallen monster, flowing directly into him. As he absorbs its raw power, the Abyss Seed looks up, ominously declaring that he has finally arrived. The real battle is just beginning. Just as the Abyss Seed makes his grand entrance, a new crew of monsters crashes the party. A massive, hooded demon with a wicked grin emerges, declaring it has finally found him. The creature accuses the Abyss Seed of being a thief, profiting from the strength of others. Playing dumb, Abyss Seed asks what it means. Enraged, the demon screams he will pay with his life and launches a volley of razor-sharp spikes. The projectiles slam into the Abyss Seed, but shatter instantly, leaving him completely unharmed. He coolly catches a fragment, his eyes glowing ominously, remarking that an attack on this level is nothing to him. The Abyss Seed's attention snaps skyward as a mechanical drone flies away. He recognizes it as a cheap, human-made imitation of Odin's crow, but his observation is cut short by a shout from below. Sora stands ready, now wielding a menacing, glowing spear. He glares up at the giant demon and mocks it, declaring that the creature could never hope to kill him. With a defiant grin, he challenges the monster, demanding it to come at him seriously if it truly wants a fight. Without waiting for a response, Sora charges forward, spear crackling with raw power, ready to take on the colossal beast himself. Before Sora can even take a step, the Abyss Seed vanishes in a flash of dark energy. He reappears instantly before the giant demon, driving a corrupted black blade straight through its core. The colossal monster is taken out in a single, silent blow. As its body dissipates into shadows, the Abyss Seed glares at the retreating drone, disgusted by the thought of being monitored by lowly humans. He scoffs at their pathetic creations before turning his attention to the wider battlefield. With a flick of his wrist, he commands his winged minions, ordering them to get rid of all the guards in the area, immediately. Hiding in a nearby building, a lone soldier monitors the battlefield. He curses as one of the winged monsters smashes his surveillance drone to pieces. Despite the setback, he knows the mission must continue. He realizes the entire monster horde changed its path because of one man, the Abyss Seed. This mysterious hunter single-handedly intercepted them. Understanding the danger, the soldier decides he must report this to his commander immediately. But before he can move, a massive beast bursts through the wall, sending him flying across the room. Down below, the Abyss Seed looks up with a sinister grin, clearly enjoying the show. A soldier, whose life was just spared, rushes toward the Abyss Seed in a jeep. Believing him to be a hero, the man praises his strength and tries to warn him about an impending bombing in the area, but his escape is cut short as his vehicle gets stuck in the surrounding rubble. Annoyed by the distraction, the Abyss Seed clicks his tongue, He has no time for small fry. Leaping from the high ground, he declares his intention to hunt the boss. To save the most people, he must end this quickly. He smashes into the ground below, cracking the pavement with the force of his landing. The white-haired man struggles on the ground, realizing his enemy's power surged after it fused with the monster. Refusing to give up, he forces himself back onto his feet. The Abyss Seed scoffs at his persistence, but then freezes in shock. He sees it now. The man before him looks exactly like him. Ignoring the revelation, the man's attention snaps to the pulsating dark sword. He can feel its immense dangerous energy. The Abyss Seed grips his weapon, identifying his lookalike as another Abyss Seed. With a menacing glare, he raises his blade high, declaring that this confrontation is his double's destiny before bringing it down. The Abyss Seed brings his colossal sword down with crushing force. In a stunning move, his lookalike stops the massive weapon with just one hand. The resulting shockwave blasts outwards, shattering the very ground beneath them. The attacker can't believe his eyes. His powerful strike was completely nullified. The white-haired man is just as confused, wondering if he imagined the whole thing as he feels a strange energy surge. A purple crystal materializes before him, and he stares at his hand in shock. He finally understands. The power that just saved him is the same as the power of the Abyss itself. A new robed figure appears, mocking the Abyss Seed from above. It questions if taking weapons is his only skill. With a mere gesture, the creature makes the massive dark sword vanish right out of his hand. The Abyss Seed stares at his empty palm, but a confident smirk quickly follows. He realizes his own power is far more versatile than he thought. Knowing this next battle will be a long one, he first turns his attention to the trapped soldier. He walks over to the wrecked jeep and casually asks the man if he's good with heights. Before the soldier can process the question, he lifts the entire vehicle with one hand. With a grin, the Abyss Seed hurls the jeep into the air, telling the terrified soldier it's time to fly. The robed figure explodes with rage, screaming that his opponent is an idiot for underestimating the Abyss's true power. He preaches a twisted philosophy. The strong don't exist to protect the weak, they exist to become the strongest. A massive, terrifying sphere of dark energy materializes below the falling vehicle. The robed figure commands them both to perish. The white-haired man knows the attack is too fast to escape. With no other option, he leaps directly toward the swirling destruction, vowing to destroy his enemy. With a flash of purple energy, the white-haired man crashes into the robed figure, hoping his desperate attack was successful. But his hope instantly turns to dread. His powerful strike did absolutely nothing. He realizes with horror that the robed man was just a decoy. The massive sphere of dark energy below is the enemy's true body. As the jeep plummets toward the swirling vortex, he screams for the soldier to get out of the car. But it's too late. Trapped and terrified, the soldier begs him to stay back. A sinister voice echoes from the darkness, telling the poor little lamb not to be scared as tendrils of shadow reach for him. With a glowing eye, the white-haired man vows to send his foe home. But it's too late. Countless shadowy spikes erupt from the dark energy below, piercing straight through the falling jeep. From afar, the robed figure taunts him, telling him not to be so hasty. The tendrils wrap around the soldier, twisting his body into a horrifying puppet. The villain cackles as he reveals his true power, necromancy. He forces the now smiling soldier to face his would-be savior, promising that everyone he cares about will perish in front of him. The Abyss Seed can only watch in helpless shock. The robed villain cackles, declaring that this horrific scene is the Abyss Seed's wonderful destiny. As the white-haired man glares back, a painful memory flashes through his mind, a childhood bully choking him, asking if he enjoyed crushing people's dignity. The villain senses this shared darkness and laughs, claiming he finally understands him. With a powerful roar, he unleashes his ultimate attack, Obsidian Storm. A deadly barrage of razor-sharp shards erupts, piercing the Abyss Seed from every direction. Looking down at the projectile lodged in his shoulder, he simply states that now he understands. His enemy finally has his full attention. Ignoring the projectiles lodged in his body, the Abyss Seed's eyes glow with raw fury. He seethes that trash like the necromancer makes him sick. In a flash, he vanishes. The Obsidian Storm continues its relentless assault, but he moves like a phantom, effortlessly weaving through the deadly shards. Appearing beside the plummeting jeep in an instant, he yanks the helpless soldier free just a moment before impact. He leaps clear as the military vehicle smashes into the ruined street below, sending a massive shockwave of debris and dust exploding outwards. The battlefield is momentarily silenced by the sheer force of the collision, but the soldier isn't saved yet. His face twists into a terrifying grin, red eyes glowing with malice. Still a puppet, he relentlessly hammers his fists against the Abyss Seed's chest. The white-haired man simply endures the assault, his gaze filled with sorrow. He apologizes to the man knowing he was just an innocent caught in the crossfire. With a heavy heart and grim determination, he makes a difficult choice. In one swift motion, he hurls the puppet towards the jagged wreckage of the crashed jeep. A final, sickening impact silences the soldier for good. Now, he turns his full, undivided attention back to the necromancer. The necromancer scoffs, declaring that any resistance is useless. He mocks the Abyss Seed, calling him a mere rookie who can't properly use the power of the Abyss and has no hope of defeating him. With a furious roar, he unleashes his full might, smashing the battlefield with a cataclysmic blast of dark energy that rips through the ruined city. But the Abyss Seed doesn't even flinch. He calmly informs the necromancer that he isn't his true opponent. As a projectile of dark energy hurtles towards him, he casually bats it away, shattering it instantly. Enraged by this absolute contempt, the necromancer lunges forward for a final, desperate assault. Just as the necromancer lunges, another figure intercepts him with a devastating punch. The villain stumbles back in utter shock, unable to believe he's actually been injured. The newcomer, revealed to be Sora, coldly informs him that humans evolve. He then channels dark energy into his fist, creating a wicked black spike. Before the necromancer can react, Sora unleashes the attack, striking him dead center. The villain reels, horrified that Sora copied his Abyss technique just by watching. Enraged, the necromancer summons a colossal stone hand from the earth, screaming at Sora not to run as it closes in for the kill. As the colossal stone hand slams down, Sora leaps into the air, gracefully dodging the crushing attack. The Abyss Seed watches from the side, shocked by our hero's resilience. He mutters that Sora is tougher than he expected. While soaring through the air, Sora grins with cold confidence. He declares that even if he can run, the giant stone hand is a slow, easy target. A sinister purple aura flares around him as he focuses his dark energy. The necromancer's own summoned hand begins to crack and crumble, now overwhelmed and corrupted by the very power it was meant to channel. Sora is turning the villain's attack against him. The necromancer's desperate final attack transforms him into a monstrous shadow beast, shaking the ruined city. Watching the mass of dark energy swirl, the Abyss Seed smirks, realizing his opponent is just trying the same failed technique all over again. But this time, he spots the critical weak point, the main body's core. His eyes flare with power as he grabs onto the whipping black tendrils, his aura surging to meet the challenge. With a defiant roar, the Abyss Seed launches himself directly into the heart of the Shadow Beast, declaring that he will crush its core and end the fight. Inside the swirling vortex of shadows, the beast stares in utter disbelief. It believed it had trapped Sora, but it was dead wrong. A blinding light suddenly erupts from the monster's core, followed by a cataclysmic explosion. The dark tendrils and shadowy form are violently torn apart, disintegrating into embers and dust. From the heart of the blast, Sora descends unharmed, his gray eyes now glowing with a menacing purple energy. He lands firmly on the rubble-strewn ground and locks his gaze on the stunned Abyss Seed. With cold determination, he declares that the villain is his next target. Powerless and shocked, the Abyss Seed vanishes, vowing to remember this humiliating defeat. Cornered and desperate, the necromancer plays his final card. He raises a chaotic sphere of dark energy above his head, roaring out the name of his ultimate skill, Shadow Unity. In an instant, the ruined city fills with monstrous figures clawing their way out of the darkness. Winged demons and skeletal brutes emerge from the shadows, answering his call. But these beasts aren't his army. Dark tendrils erupt from the necromancer, violently pulling the monsters toward him. He becomes the eye of a terrifying storm, absorbing their power and very essence. Their forms merge into his, creating a grotesque, massive shadow beast. Sora stands alone as the dust settles, his glowing purple eyes scanning the destruction. He realizes the Abyss Seed used such a powerful technique just to escape. Annoyed, he glances down at his own clothes, now torn to pieces. He kicks the tattered rags away, but his foot nudges something on the ground. It's a photograph. A wave of relief washes over Sora as he sees it's a picture of his parents, completely unharmed. His moment of peace is cut short when he spots a fallen soldier near a wrecked vehicle. Thinking of the family waiting for him, Sora gives the man a proper burial, ensuring he rests with dignity. Sora picks up the dog tag from the fallen soldier, making a silent promise to take him home. But he knows this fight is far from over. The Abyss Seed absorbed too much power to be finished so easily. As if summoned by his thoughts, the villain reappears, a wicked grin plastered on his face. He taunts Sora, declaring that everyone he cares about is doomed to fall. A chilling realization dawns on Sora. The evacuation center. He understands the monster's true target is the helpless civilians. If the Abyss Seed gets there first, it will be a complete disaster. He clutches the tag and sprints off, determined to stop him. The military swarms the disaster zone, with a tough-as-nails commander leading the charge. With a sharp gaze, she deploys a drone squad, ordering them to scan every inch of the rubble. She warns them that not even a rat should get by. Her teams move out, staying on high alert as they navigate the destroyed city. Suddenly, a panicked soldier radios in, trying to report on the monsters. Before he can finish, the commander cuts him off, her expression grim. She looks up into the chaotic sky, confirming that she already sees the problem. The sheer scale of destruction has left even the hardened soldiers speechless. The blonde-haired commander surveys the wasteland before her, completely stunned. The monsters, they were all defeated. The entire city block is littered with the fallen bodies of colossal beasts. Snapping back to reality, she barks orders at her troops, telling them to find any surviving drones and report their findings immediately. The signs of a massive battle are everywhere. She remembers Lieutenant Kagura's report about a powerful hunter surviving the initial bombing. But could a single person have caused all this destruction? Just as the question forms, a soldier shouts out, "He's found a drone, and its memory card is completely intact. Now, they'll see everything." The team wastes no time, immediately extracting the footage from the recovered drone. The blonde commander leans in, her eyes fixed on the screen, ready to uncover the truth. The video rolls, showing Private Matsura Shoki charging into the bombing zone, and right beside him is the powerful hunter who somehow survived the impossible. Meanwhile, another soldier exploring the rubble hits the jackpot. He stands frozen, staring at a cluster of glowing items left behind by a fallen monster. The loot is insane, a potion that permanently boosts magic, a rare A-class dagger, and an unidentifiable mystery box. Before he can process his luck, another soldier shouts down, demanding to know what he found. Panicked, the soldier tries to hide his amazing discovery, shouting that he found nothing, but his luck runs out. A second soldier drops down from the rubble above, landing right in front of him. With a sinister grin, the newcomer points out the rare loot, reminding his comrade that taking items meant for the unit is a serious crime. The threat hangs heavy in the air. The first soldier, completely terrified, has no choice but to hand over the glowing dagger and the mystery box. The greedy soldier clutches the prize and asks how they should split their newfound treasure, but his partner just nervously tells him to calm down. The greedy soldier's eyes fix on the mysterious box, declaring he only wants that single item. But the rookie isn't giving it up so easily. He knows this box could hold legendary gear and shouts back a defiant, "No, this was the wrong move." The bully immediately grabs him with a crushing grip, his voice dripping with menace. He tells the rookie he has absolutely no right to choose. Completely intimidated, the young soldier has no choice but to surrender the loot. As the rookie walks away defeated, his former partner clutches the golden prize, his face twisting with a crazed joy as he identifies it. The golem's relic. A new player enters the game. Amidst the desolate ruins of the city, a mysterious figure with white hair lands on a rooftop overlooking Shelter 6. He declares he's finally here. Below, the shelter seems calm, with no raid in sight. This powerful stranger walks through the streets, his scarred, muscular physique and intense aura forcing the crowds to part in fear. He scans the area, searching for a specific person, but finds no one of note. He grimly realizes there are no strong people in this place. Without a worthy protector, he knows this entire shelter will soon be wiped off the map. As the scarred warrior stands his ground, a strange blindfolded man in a wide-brimmed hat suddenly appears before him. The man notes the intense scent of battle clinging to the warrior and asks if he's from the outside. The warrior simply confirms that he is. The blindfolded man laughs, relieved, and reassures the powerful stranger that he means no harm. He pulls out a roll of currency, explaining that he only wants to buy some information about the world outside the shelter. The warrior glances at the payment and agrees to the deal. Just as the exchange is about to begin, the man stops him, holding up a small mysterious object. The blindfolded man states he wants to know one thing. He questions the powerful warrior, asking why a monk would call him "Your Excellency." But Sora sees straight through the disguise, bluntly calling him a fake. The man laughs nervously, admitting he's been figured out, and that the monk getup is just a hobby. Sora isn't buying it for a second. He leans in and asks if the blindfold is also a hobby. The stranger sweats, claiming he has an eye condition. Sora knows that's a lie. He senses a terrifying power behind the blindfold, realizing this man is a tiger hiding in sheep's clothing. Deciding to play along, Sora asks what he wants. The blindfolded man gets straight to the point. He wants to know what's happening outside the shelter. He's noticed the soldiers and heavy weapons lining the walls, preparing for a battle the civilians know nothing about. He heard an explosion earlier and needs to know what went down. After a moment of silence, Sora gives him a ridiculous story. He claims he was just relieving himself when a loud blast from the southwest scared him so badly that he ran out without his clothes. The man is taken aback but realizes Sora is hiding his true power, just like him. He confirms the direction, tosses Sora his payment, and walks away, leaving Sora to watch as he heads straight toward the fallen area. With the blindfolded man gone, Sora observes the shelter's inhabitants. He senses immense power from the people around him, and knows he can't afford to make any rash moves. It's strange how easily they let a suspicious-looking stranger like him wander their streets. He figures their shared enemy must have lowered their guard. Using the money he got from the fake monk, Sora finds a shop and buys a fresh set of clothes. Now looking less like a battle-worn refugee and more like a local, he focuses on his main goal. He needs to find his parents. Deciding to start his search the normal way, he pulls out a worn photograph of his family. Sora approaches a woman, politely asking if she has seen the couple in his photograph. The instant her eyes land on the picture, she freezes in terror. Clutching the photo, she stammers that she doesn't know and runs away as if she's seen a ghost. Sora is completely stumped by her reaction, wondering if people here are just naturally wary of strangers with power. His thoughts are cut short when a guy from the crowd calls him a brat. Sora turns, ready for a fight, but the loudmouth's attitude instantly changes. Looking nervous, the man gets straight to the point, informing Sora that the people he's searching for aren't here. The guy scoffs, calling Sora an old-timer for trying to pick up girls with a photo at night. Unfazed, Sora cuts straight to the point, asking if he knows them. The man's entire attitude shifts. He gets dead serious, demanding to know how Sora has that picture and what his relationship is to the people in it. Sora calmly replies that he's their son. The man's jaw drops as he looks from Sora to the family in the picture, muttering in disbelief. Thinking he's being mocked, he lunges forward, but a vehicle screeches to a halt beside them. A white-haired commander steps out, yanking the man back and taking the photo for himself. The commander slams his fist into the car window, shattering the glass with a single blow. He leans in, coldly telling the loudmouth he didn't hear him, and to say it again. The man's tough guy act instantly disappears, replaced by pure terror. He stammers, suddenly friendly, as he realizes he's talking to the Eastern commander. With a shaky finger, he points down the street, quickly explaining that the people Sora is looking for live just up the road. Having finally gotten a solid lead, Sora gives a simple thanks and heads in the direction the man indicated. The terrified man waves him off, relieved the confrontation is over. As Sora walks the empty street, he can't shake the odd feeling of a street thug knowing his parents. He reflects that his dad was always kind to everyone, and his mom was just as gentle. In a harsh world like this, their compassion would have made them easy targets, but Sora's expression hardens with determination. He believes they will be safe now that he is here to protect them. Following the directions, he arrives at an old, traditional-looking house, standing quietly on the corner. He stops, staring at the front door. Could this really be where his parents have been living all this time? Taking a steadying breath, Sora raises his fist and knocks on the old wooden door. From inside, a familiar voice asks if work is done for the day. It's his dad. The door slides open, revealing Sora's father, who offers a warm welcome back. But the greeting dies on his lips as he sees the stranger before him. His face fills with confusion, and he demands to know who Sora is. Then, a flicker of recognition, or perhaps disbelief, crosses his features. He mutters his son's name, Sora. With a pained smile, Sora confirms his identity. His father is left utterly speechless, his mind reeling from the shock. The reunion is painfully awkward as Sora and his father sit in complete silence. The tension finally breaks when Sora's mom slides the door open, bringing tea and apologizing for the wait. She looks between the two stoic men, asking why neither of them has spoken a word. His dad finally sighs, admitting it's just hard to accept. He says the son sitting before him feels like a completely different person. Then, his entire demeanor shifts. A wild grin spreads across his face, as he declares that in times like this, he knows exactly what Sora needs. Baffled, Sora asks what he's talking about. Sora's father leans in, his expression dead serious. He warns Sora that he won't let this go if he doesn't get a straight answer, especially not in front of his wife. Watching from the shadows, one of his subordinates has a clear order: detain Sora at the slightest hint of trouble. But Sora isn't fazed. He notices the hidden guard and feels reassured by the security. He asks his dad what the big deal is. Before his father can dismiss the guard, Sora's mom cheerfully spills the beans. She reveals that the grand, life-changing activity her husband has in mind is his weekly trip to the housewives support group for cooking lessons. His father's tough guy act instantly shatters into a million pieces of pure, unfiltered embarrassments. Sora's father is completely floored. He demands to know how Sora discovered his secret cooking class, but Sora isn't finished exposing him. With a smirk, he reveals that his dad also secretly attended ballet classes every week, hiding it from both his sons. The hidden subordinate is frozen in disbelief, a hilarious image of his muscle-bound boss in a frilly tutu flashing through his mind. Completely humiliated, Sora's dad slams his fist on the table. He tries to save face, arguing that the cooking class wasn't that big of a secret, but his bright red face tells a very different story. With the tension still thick, Sora smiles and suggests they talk about things at home. His father's expression darkens as he asks if Sora knows. Sora confirms it with a smug grin, warning his old man not to regret it later. Sweating now, his father demands that he just say what he knows. Sora casually points to the ornate Japanese sword displayed proudly in the room. He declares that the supposedly priceless heirloom is actually just a replica. The hidden guard is completely floored by this new bombshell. Furious, Sora's dad slams the table, yelling that it's ridiculous and demanding proof. Sora smirks, asking if his father really wants proof. He coolly points out a bite mark on the sword's hilt, one left by his brother. The revelation makes his father jump in shock. The hidden guard's mind flashes back to a legendary tale. The time his boss, with hands bound, bit down on that sword and took out 38 adversaries. Convinced this is all a ploy to assassinate his father, the guard tenses up, but as Sora grips the hilt, he feels something impossible. He watches in disbelief as the metal of the blade begins to unnaturally stretch and contract in his grasp. The blade continued to warp in Sora's hand, but before the stunned guard could move, Sora's father rushed forward. He wasn't angry anymore, he was completely overwhelmed. He screamed that Sora was an idiot, yelling that he thought his son was dead. Tears streamed down his face as he pulled Sora into a desperate hug, sobbing that he had finally returned. They were so worried. Stunned by the sudden embrace, Sora could barely react. His father admitted that in his desperate search for Sora, he somehow became a powerful boss. He then added how embarrassing it was for a boss like him to be crying so openly. Still clutching his son, Sora's father cries about how embarrassing this moment is for a powerful boss like him. The hidden guard is totally floored. He's only ever known his boss as a ruthless warrior who survived a lifetime of conflict. This is the first time he's ever seen the man show such emotion. Realizing he's witnessed a massive secret, the guard starts to panic. A man who values his pride this much would surely silence anyone who saw him so weak. Convinced he needs to run for his life, he turns to flee. But Sora calls out, telling him to wait as his hand glows around the sword's hilt. He then explains that his dad just wants to talk. Sora flashes a grin at the terrified guard, Ochiai, claiming his dad just wants a friendly chat. Later, the four of them are sitting in a quiet room, but the mood is anything but friendly. Sora's father glares at Ochiai, calling him the biggest gossip among all his guards. He starts to warn him what will happen if his secret gets out, but Sora cuts him off. With a dark smile, he tells his dad that keeping the guard quiet is his problem now. Panicked, Ochiai bows low, swearing he'll never tell a soul. His pleas are met with a unified, terrifying glare from both father and son. Just as the guard is about to have a meltdown, a calm voice cuts in. It's Sora's mother, telling her husband to stop threatening the man. Ochiai looks up at her with shimmering eyes like he's just seen a real-life angel. With a gentle smile, she makes a simple request. He absolutely must not tell anyone what he saw. Ochiai bows deeply, promising he won't. Then, she casually adds that she's glad no one brought up her own embarrassing sleeping habits. Her husband just stares in disbelief, completely baffled as to why she would ever admit to something like that herself. Sora looks at his family, a calm expression on his face. He thinks to himself that this is it. He finally feels like he's truly returned from the abyss. He announces that he's back home. But just as his mother reaches out to him, their reunion is cut short by a loud knock. The atmosphere shifts instantly. The door slides open with a bang, revealing a crowd of rough-looking men. Their leader, a bandaged thug, barges in and calls out, "Boss," looking directly at Sora's father. His gaze then snaps to Sora, and he points aggressively, shouting about the white-haired brat standing there. Just as the tense conversation settles, the door bursts open, and a gang of tough-looking guys barges in. Their leader, a man with a sword strapped to his back, points right at Sora, calling him a white-haired brat. Unfazed, Sora just smirks, coolly asking if the man is talking to him. Suddenly, one of the thugs gets a good look at Sora's face, and pure terror takes over. He screams out that it's him. The leader ignores his panicking subordinate and tries to act tough, yelling that they have strength in numbers. He demands to know if Sora is trying to pick a fight with their boss. The gang leader lunges forward, aiming a kick at Sora's head. But before it can connect, Sora snatches his leg out of the air with one hand, stopping him cold. The thug is completely stunned. With a menacing purple glow in his eyes, Sora effortlessly overpowers the man. The room falls silent. Sora calmly takes a seat and asks his father to introduce him to his guys. Mr. Mukushima puts a hand on the frozen thug's shoulder, explaining that this is his son, Sora, who disappeared 5 years ago and has only just returned today. He starts to state his son's level, but suddenly freezes, his eyes wide with panic. It hits him. He doesn't even know Sora's level. Sora calmly dropped a bombshell, announcing he didn't have a system. The surrounding crowd erupted in disbelief. One man was floored, questioning how anyone could survive 5 years in the dreaded Fallen Zone without one. It was a well-known fact that without a system, it's impossible to level past 10, no matter how hard you train. The group began to murmur amongst themselves, dismissing Sora as a rookie who somehow got overhyped. One man even laughed nervously, insisting it had to be a mistake, but another remembered a critical detail. Sora had taken a powerful shock attack earlier and walked away without a single scratch. This didn't add up. Sora smirks at his stunned father, casually asking if he wants to use his system to check his level. The thug, Kagawa, pipes up, explaining that having a system lets you see monster levels. However, he clarifies that seeing another person's level requires a very rare scout skill. With a proud look, Kagawa declares that only a few awakened have this power, and their boss, Sora's father, is one of them. A challenging grin spreads across Sora's face as he looks his dad dead in the eye, telling him to go ahead and check him out. The tension in the room skyrockets. Mr. Mukushima's eyes lock onto his son, activating his rare scout ability. But before the scan can complete, Sora turns to his mother and asks if she wants to see his level. With a gentle smile, she shakes her head, saying that more than anything, she just wants to be close to him. Besides, she already knows. A blue system window flickers in front of Sora's father, but it's completely blank. The gang members murmur in confusion as Mr. Mukushima stares in utter shock. No matter how many times he tries to scan him, he can't get any information on his son at all. Sora's dad is completely stumped. He figures there are only two reasons why the scan failed. Either Sora doesn't have a system, or his level is so ridiculously high that it's outside his detection range. He quickly dismisses the first idea. The scan still shows Sora's name, and more importantly, Sora survived alone for 5 long years, something no rookie could do. The horrifying truth dawns on him and his crew. Sora's power is off the charts. As the white-haired monk wonders what hell Sora must have endured, his mother simply smiles. She says they shouldn't worry and should be glad instead. After all, her son is a strong kid. The monk quietly observes, remarking that Sora must have gone through absolute hell just to make it back. Overwhelmed with emotion, Sora can only whisper, "Mom," as she pulls him into a tight embrace. His mind flashes back to the brutal and lonely 5 years he spent fighting for his life in the abyss. Pushing the horrific memories away, he manages a pained smile through his tears. He tells his mother not to cry, reassuring her that he's fine now that he's finally home. Watching the raw reunion, Sora's father struggles to keep his own composure, his eyes welling up with tears. The white-haired monk tells the crew it's a sweet reunion and that they should give the family some space. The men quietly file out of the room. As they leave, Sora's father looks out the window with a worried expression, wondering what happened to Jiru and the others. They left 2 hours ago and still haven't returned. Later, Sora sits alone with his mother, finally getting the chance to ask about his big brother. A wave of fear washes over him as he braces for bad news. But his mother just smiles reassuringly. She tells him not to worry. His brother is fine. He just rarely comes home because of his military duties. His mother decides that since Sora is back, it's time to call his brother. She pulls out her phone, showing a picture of him in full military gear. She explains that he's always on the front lines, fighting relentlessly as if to avenge Sora. Hearing this, Sora quietly reflects that it's been a very long time. Curious about her influence, he asks if she's high-ranking. She smiles mysteriously, confirming she has a position, but her real power comes from her class. She reveals she is a cleric, the ultimate healer, capable of prophecies and wide-range support. This immediately grabs Sora's attention, who asks if that means she can see his status. Sora's mother smiles, clarifying that she can't actually see status windows. Confused, Sora questions how she knew so much. She gently touches his face, reminding him that her cleric class grants her the gift of prophecy. With a warm smile, she confesses that she always knew he would come back home to her one day. Later that night, under a full moon, Sora's father is startled by a noise at the door. He cautiously peeks outside, asking who's there. Suddenly, the men inside snap to attention, exclaiming that the vice captain has arrived. A large, scarred man stands in the doorway, his expression grim. It's Iwashima Jiro. Vice-Captain Iwashima Jiro returns, his face as grim as a storm cloud. His superior immediately notices and asks what his secret investigation uncovered. Leaning in, Jiro confirms their suspicions. The Tiger Roar Guild is working with the military. He explains how his men were scammed. They delivered monster remains as usual, but a military official nitpicked the delivery, claiming the parts were too damaged to accept. In the end, they were paid only half the promised points. To make matters worse, the corrupt official reported the full amount to his superiors, pocketing the difference. This corruption runs deep, and Jiro's team was the latest victim. The vice-captain confirms their worst fears. The stolen points went directly to the Tiger Roar Guild. His superior can't believe it. This makes no sense, as Tiger Roar has always been a neutral party. Something bigger is clearly going on. Jiru declares they can't let this go, but his boss urges him to eat and rest first. Ignoring the advice, Jiru's eyes glow with power. He announces he's heading to Tiger Roar to settle things personally. It's time to show them that the Union Guild is not a crew to be messed with. Far away, the Abyss Seed smirks. A mysterious black shard has leveled up his abilities. Sora connects the dots, realizing Kagawa and the robbers are tied to the Tiger Roar Guild. A bad feeling washes over him. His dad is walking straight into the lion's den. He can't let him go alone. Sora throws the door open, stunning the room into silence. He looks at his father and declares he's coming with him. One of the guild members watches with a smirk, thinking this is a good chance to see what Sora is really made of. His father introduces him, proudly announcing that his son survived 5 years alone in the Fallen Zone. The vice captain's eyes widen in disbelief before asking the one question on everyone's mind. What is Sora's level? Sora's father drops a bombshell that silences the room. His son doesn't have a system. The vice captain is floored. A normal person surviving the Fallen Zone for 5 years is completely unheard of. He figures Sora must have extreme physical abilities, but another guild member scoffs. Without job skills, he's just a liability in a real fight. The argument sways the group. The vice captain agrees Sora must be exhausted and should stay behind. Looking stressed, his dad tells him to stay home with his mother. Sora listens, his expression hardening as he understands their true feelings. They all think he's just dead weight. Sora understands their perspective. Without a system, he just looks like a regular guy. He decides it's better this way for now. If the monsters are as terrifying as he remembers, he needs to hide his true power to protect his dad and the others from getting caught in the crossfire. He looks at the group and calmly agrees to stay behind, stunning everyone into silence. One of the members who doubted him looks disappointed, realizing he missed a chance to see Sora's skills. With the issue settled, Sora's father rallies his men and they march out. As they leave, his mother comforts him, explaining that his dad is just worried and doesn't want him facing danger again. Sora's mother comforts him, patting his head and promising his father will be fine. She explains that her prophecies always come true, and she saw him returning safely. Annoyed, Sora insists he's not a child anymore. He knows Tiger Roar is backed by the military, which means this conflict is far from over. He asks for a rundown of the shelter's politics. His mother explains that after the world changed, awakened hunters formed guilds to manage shelters with the military. His father founded the Union Guild with the sole purpose of finding Sora, rallying countless members with the motto, "We fight to reunite families." Now, the Union handles external security while the military focuses on raids. Sora's mother explains that his father's kindness is why he never sent his people into dangerous raids. That's how they maintained peace for 4 years. But the calm shattered a few months ago when Tiger Roar, a major guild from another shelter, moved in and started causing constant trouble. Sora questions why the military doesn't intervene. His mother clarifies that the military is overwhelmed by escalating threats and now relies on powerful guilds like Tiger Roar to clear towers. The rewards are too tempting to ignore. To make matters worse, Tiger Roar has an ultimate trump card, an awakened chosen by the tower's deity named Ezra. Sora is baffled, questioning the idea of a tower's deity. His mother explains that the ruler of each tower is so powerful, they're basically a god. If a hunter passes their special trial, they become an Ezra, a chosen one blessed with divine power. Outside the tower, they are the god's agent. Inside, they are its guardian. She reveals that Tiger Roar has more of these powerhouse warriors than any other guild, which is how they expanded so quickly. In sharp contrast, his father's Union Guild has never cleared a tower and doesn't have a single Ezra. Sora realizes why they're struggling. But one thing doesn't add up. Sora cuts straight to the point, asking his mother why their whole operation feels like a gangster movie. She just gives him a sly grin, admitting it's her personal taste. Shifting gears, she nudges him forward, saying he must be tired and should go take a bath. She even cheekily offers to wash his back, which makes Sora blush and immediately refuse. He insists he can wash himself, and she just smiles, remarking how he's all grown up. But the second he's alone, the playful mood vanishes. A dark purple aura begins to swirl around Sora as his expression turns deadly serious. He's got business to handle. The moment Sora confirms his mother is gone, the playful act drops instantly. He realizes the situation is far more serious than he'd imagined, and he can't shake the deep worry he feels for his father. There's simply no time to rest. With a steely glint in his now glowing eyes, he throws open the window and launches himself into the night air, becoming a blur against the cityscape. From the doorway, his mother watches him go, a small, knowing smile playing on her lips. She muses that she just told him to rest, sighing that kids really are a handful. She knew he wouldn't just sit still. Meanwhile, Sora's father was on the move. He gathered his forces from the allied guild and marched straight for the Tiger Roar headquarters, ready for a confrontation. But they weren't alone. Perched high above the darkened city, the villainous Abyss Seed scanned the landscape below. He mused that the citywide blackout actually worked in his favor. making it much easier to spot his target. As he focused his power, Sora's father and his crew suddenly faltered on the street. A strange dizzy spell washed over the group, and the guild leader himself clutched his head, realizing this was no ordinary feeling. They had just walked into an ambush. Sora's father clutched his head, completely baffled. Thanks to the abyss fragment inside him, he was so tough he hadn't even caught a cold in years, yet this crippling dizziness was taking him down. A sinister voice echoed in his mind. It was Abyss Seed, telling him there was no escape. Mukushima frantically scanned the area, but the villain's presence was completely masked. He cursed, realizing his target must be in the 6th shelter. As the world spun around him again, a third, furious voice suddenly entered the fray, declaring that Abyss Seed wasn't going anywhere. A new player has joined the game. Abyss Seed's voice gloated that Mukushima's soul was already marked by him. A glitching, ghostly image of the villain appeared beside the guild leader, laughing wildly. Mukushima recoiled in shock, realizing this was no mere illusion, it was a soul marking. The curse had already taken hold. As Abyss Seed continued his psychic assault, screaming that there was no escape, a brilliant flash of light suddenly ripped through the darkness. A figure landed hard on the pavement, demanding to know what everyone was doing out so late at night. Sora had just crashed the party, and he did not look happy. Abyss Seed's rooftop party was officially over. He cursed under his breath. Sora's loud entrance had just blown his cover. But before Sora could make a move, another player entered the game. A mysterious force grabbed the villain and started yanking him down from the sky. Abyss Seed screamed in protest, but it was no use. Mid-air, Sora was left stunned as his target simply vanished before his eyes. He landed hard on a nearby roof, searching for the baddie. But Abyss Seed hadn't escaped. He was now a glitching, ghostly projection tethered to Kagawa Eiji, who declared that the villain wasn't getting away. This power was back. Under the full moon, Kagawa Eiji decided to put his new ability to the test. Standing on the street, he quickly pieced it together. Spending more than 7 seconds in darkness activated the soul marking, hitting him with a dizzying spell. As he analyzed the power, Abyss Seed's voice taunted him, claiming Kagawa's soul was already marked. A glitching, ghostly image of the villain appeared right beside him, laughing maniacally. But Kagawa was the only one who could see him. A confused bystander shot him a strange look, wondering if he was going through some kind of dramatic middle school phase. Kagawa stumbles under a streetlight, clutching his head as he figures out the rules of this twisted curse. Whenever he steps into the light, a piercing sound screeches in his ears. After a moment, the soul marking fades, and the ghostly image of Abyss Seed vanishes. It all clicked. The sunlight and house lights had kept him safe earlier, though the curse is just an annoyance for now. The villain's taunting voice reappears in the darkness, promising Kagawa can't escape. Knowing Abyss Seed can track him and ambush him at any moment, Kagawa realizes he can't let his guard down. His first priority is finding his dad and the others. A car's headlights sweep across the street, and Kagawa confirms his theory. The ghostly image of Abyss Seed vanishes in the light. But he's got far bigger problems now. A chilling realization hits him. If his mom was right about the military seeing the Allied Guild as disposable, then his dad and the others are in grave danger. He knows the army has allied with the ruthless Tiger Roar Guild. There's no chance they'll just stand by quietly. A sense of dread washes over him as he concludes they're definitely making a move, and his family is directly in the line of fire. Kagawa's eyes flash purple with cold fury. He's certain the military is trying to crush the Allied Guild once again. A dark, menacing aura explodes around him as he makes a solemn vow. He will protect his parents, no matter the cost, and he'll stop every single person who stands in his way. The intense energy subsides, leaving him to wonder if his peaceful days are truly gone for good. He finally arrives at a massive building, spotting a tense crowd gathered outside. Hiding behind a pillar, he watches the situation unfold, worried about his dad's negotiation plans, and hoping desperately that violence can be avoided. Kagawa remembers a stern warning from his father long ago. A certain power was only to be used as a last resort. Back in the present, he knows his dad won't fight unless he's completely cornered. But suddenly, the crowd is told to get back. It's starting. His dad's guild members are shocked, muttering that it's been forever since their boss drew his sword. The last time he did, he left a massive scar on his enemy. A brilliant blue aura explodes around Mukushima as he unsheathes his glowing blade. It's clear the negotiations have failed, and things are about to get serious. With his eyes glowing a menacing red, Mukushima gives a final, chilling command for Tsuchida to get out, but his patience has run out. As the crowd shouts a warning, he explodes into motion. A single devastating slash sends a tidal wave of blue energy tearing through the concrete, shattering the ground with its sheer force. Mukushima launches himself forward, a blur of speed and power. His opponent, a massive bearded man, is frozen solid. He can only stare in disbelief, his mind completely unable to process the overwhelming speed and destructive power, now aimed directly at him. Negotiations have officially failed. Mukushima stands ready, his glowing blue sword buzzing with energy in front of the damaged building. The talk is over. From the crowd, one of his younger guild members watches in disbelief, sweat dripping down his face. He nervously asks a senior member if the boss has always been this intense. The veteran member, a guy in sunglasses, just smirks. He reminds the rookie that their boss is famous for being quick to get into a fight. This new information leaves the young man completely baffled. He clearly recalls Mukushima stating that violence was only a last resort. It seems the last resort arrived much sooner than anyone anticipated. The veteran guild member smirks, telling the rookie that the boss used to preach peace. That was in the early days when they still believed the military would intervene in their disputes. They quickly realized the truth. The government doesn't get involved in hunter-on-hunter conflicts. This led to a new philosophy. The quickest way to solve a problem is with overwhelming force. If you win, there's no need to talk. If you can't win, talking is pointless. The lesson is simple. Finish the fight with a single, decisive move, and then start the discussion. From the sidelines, Kagawa watches, his mind racing. He realizes the monk isn't looking for a fight, making him question everything. Was his understanding wrong? Does having as much power as his father mean you can go on a rampage and be forgiven? Kagawa turns his back on the chaos, his mind racing. He questions if his father's brute force approach is the only way. A memory surfaces of the monk, Shuzenji Yukio, from his childhood. Elsewhere, that same monk, now a powerful level 75, Arhat, stands on a skyscraper overlooking a disaster zone. Under the pale moonlight, his eyes glow an intense blue as he activates clairvoyance. He sees the aftermath of a huge battle. A level 90 boss lies defeated, but there are no signs of military weapons. It was taken down by something else. A power far beyond conventional means. Elsewhere, the monk Shuzenji Yukio stands tall, realizing with a grim certainty that the world is terrifyingly vast. He reflects on the many powerful beings out there, concluding they must act with more caution. Back at the standoff, Mukushima faces a massive man in armor who screams in his face, furious. The big guy demands to know if Mukushima still thinks this refuge is the same peaceful place it once was. Mukushima just smirks, agreeing that things have indeed changed. The main difference, annoying pests like his opponent have shown up. With his hand resting on the hilt of his blade, he voices his only regret. He should have eliminated him back then. The armored giant taunts Mukushima, daring him to make a move or asking if he's too scared. That insult clearly strikes a nerve. Mukushima's expression goes cold as he admits he can't ignore that remark. Suddenly, a brilliant blue aura crackles around his hand, which now rests firmly on his sword's hilt. The big guy is shocked but doubles down on his provocations. He yells that he's done enough to get a reaction, calling Mukushima a coward who won't even draw his weapon. With a final roar, he demands that Mukushima just become nourishment for his guild, the Tiger Roar. The line has been crossed. Mukushima's patience finally shatters. He calls the armored giant scum right before he explodes into action. With a brilliant flash of blue light, he draws his blade, a spectral figure materializing behind him to empower the devastating attack. The sword arcs down, ready to end the fight permanently, but just as the blade is about to land, a shadowy presence grins, declaring it has what it wants. Suddenly, a voice screams, "That's enough." In a flash of gold, Kagawa Eiji appears, his shield deflecting the powerful strike. The armored man is thrown back, completely overwhelmed as an old man scolds them for having the guts to fight inside the refuge. The chaos is interrupted by the sudden appearance of a new player. Shirai Osamu, a level 63 assassin. The crowd erupts in panicked whispers, questioning if he's the secret backer for the Tiger Roar Guild. Nearby, a mysterious man with white hair gazes toward a ruined building, sensing a massive group of people hiding inside. Kagawa Eiji grips his shield tightly. Realizing this new arrival is no coincidence, Mukushima's expression darkens as he connects the dots. Understanding this assassin is the real threat. The old geezer's face contorts with dread. The situation has just escalated into something far more dangerous. An official steps forward, laying down the law from a security ordinance. He announces that personal duels in the refuge are strictly forbidden. The penalty for violators is harsh, a minimum of 15 days in prison, or even the ultimate price. With a smug grin, the man asks Mukushima if he intends to comply. In that moment, Mukushima understands everything. This was a trap all along. They provoked him just so they could use the rules to imprison him, leaving his guild completely vulnerable to the Tiger Roar. Mukushima's mind races. He can't understand why the military's higher-ups would get involved in guild politics. Though he doesn't know their ultimate goal, he absolutely refuses to admit guilt. Facing the official, Mukushima denies everything, stating that no duel ever took place. He stands firm, arguing that as a supporter of the allied guild, he won't confess without proper evidence. But the official just smirks and points to the massive gash on the nearby building, calling it undeniable proof. Mukushima is stunned, realizing they've twisted his act of defense into a crime. Mukushima, thinking fast, tries to spin a wild tale. He points to the busted wall and claims it's just evidence of a renovation, not a duel, but the official just scoffs, telling him he clearly doesn't get the picture. This isn't a debate, the official's word is final. He declares that if he says it's evidence of a duel, then it is. With a chilling grin, he reveals the final move. Dozens of armed soldiers appear in the surrounding windows. The trap was set from the very beginning. The official gives his last order: surrender quietly. Mukushima's loyal guild members roar with defiance, ready to fight and declaring they won't lose. But Mukushima silences them with a raised hand. He calmly notes that the soldiers are too close to open fire. Across from them, the smirking official, a level 63 assassin, watches with confidence. Mukushima knows a fast opponent like that is hard to catch. He quickly formulates a desperate plan. He needs to take a hostage. As the assassin lunges, Mukushima senses the attack and shouts for his sword shield skill to activate. Bracing for impact, Mukushima's sword shield erupts in a flash of golden light. He can't afford to be the weak link. As a defender, he can analyze attacks with perfect precision, and at this range, he's confident he can block anything. The skill is so specialized against blades that it can even stop a level 69 warrior. A massive sword crashes down, but the shield holds strong, completely stopping the blow. The official is stunned. He furiously screams for Mukushima to give up, asking if he'll surrender peacefully or be thrown into prison with his comrades. The official screams at Mukushima to make his choice. Panicked, his loyal men cry out for their boss, but Mukushima remains silent, his expression grim as a powerful aura flares around him. In a flash, he draws his sword. The official smirks, mistaking the move for surrender and calling it a wise choice. Mukushima's guild members are furious, thinking he's giving up, but one man quiets them down, explaining that their boss didn't surrender, he was acting to protect them. He had just received the signal he was waiting for. One of Mukushima's men explains their secret plan. Raising the sword is the signal to get ready, and releasing it means an all-out attack. But before Mukushima can give the order, his sword dissolves into particles of light, leaving him stunned. In a blur of motion, Sora uses the shocked defender as a launchpad, appearing instantly before the enemy official. With his fist glowing with immense power, Sora looks at his new target and declares that they are all his prey now. The tables have officially turned. Sora explodes forward, a blur of motion aimed straight at the stunned official. Channeling immense power into his fist, he unleashes a devastating blow. The ground cracks under the sheer force as the official is sent flying backward, his confidence shattered in an instant. Lying on the ground, he can't believe what just happened. He finally understands the fatal miscalculation. The shield was designed to stop blades, but what just hit him wasn't a sword. It was pure, unstoppable force, like being struck by a hammer. Seeing their boss get blasted away, the soldiers panic and scream orders to take Sora down. They immediately open fire, unleashing a storm of bullets. But before the shots can connect, Mukushima bellows and activates his power. A colossal stone wall erupts from the ground, shielding Sora from the assault. At the same time, another powerful brawler summons jagged spikes from the earth to trap him. The brawler is confident that if he can just pin Sora down, their side can still claim victory. The brawler's victory is short-lived. A sinister figure emerges from the shadows directly behind him, catching him completely off guard. From a distance, the enemy commander reveals their true plan. The stone prison wasn't just to hold Sora. It was the trigger for their assassin's secret skill. He explains that by trapping Sora in the shadows, the conditions were finally met. With their main target pinned and his allies now vulnerable, the commander cackles and gives the order to finish them all. Their real trap has just been sprung. The brawler cries out in shock as the assassin tightens his grip. The nearby soldiers freeze, asking their commander what's going on. Initially smirking, the commander asks why they're so surprised, but his confidence vanishes when a new figure emerges from the shadows, holding the brawler effortlessly. Surrounded by a menacing purple aura, this man wasn't part of the plan. The commander realizes this unknown enemy hijacked his perfect trap. Panicked, he decides he must strike first before losing his advantage, and prepares to unleash his trump card. The commander reaches for his trump card, but his face drops in horror. The vial of deadly poison he'd saved for a powerful boss is gone. Before anyone can react, the mysterious figure holding the brawler moves like a flash. He swiftly takes down the brawler and smashes the stolen vial on the ground. A toxic purple fog explodes outwards, engulfing the area. Mukushima yells Sora's name, realizing he's caught in the deadly mist himself. The soldiers start choking and collapsing, their captain screaming at everyone to retreat. As the purple fog chokes the battlefield, Mukushima smirks through the pain, convinced Sora is finished. But on the other side of the field, the enemy commander collapses in disbelief. He can't understand how anyone is still moving, knowing this poison was strong enough to take down a level 90 boss. A shadow looms over him, and his face twists in pure terror. Emerging from the mist is Sora, his eyes glowing with an ominous light and a dagger held in his teeth. He stands over his fallen enemies, a monster awakened by their own trap. Sora plucks the dagger from his teeth, his glowing eyes scanning the chaos. One of the soldiers tries to make a run for it, but Sora snatches him up by the head in an instant. The soldier's face twists in pure panic as he's lifted off the ground. With a chilling calm, Sora asks the man where he thinks he's going. The remaining enemies freeze in their tracks, paralyzed by the suffocating pressure of his aura. The tables have turned completely, and Sora is ready to collect his due. The captured soldier's mind races with a terrifying realization. Every player has 5 core stats, and for Sora to withstand that poison, his constitution must be on par with a level 100 player. Holding the man tight, Sora's voice is ice as he orders him to make his men stand down. Another soldier screams in defiance, refusing the command. In a flash, Sora incapacitates his hostage against the pavement and instantly closes the distance, a punishing knee strike taking the defiant man completely out of the fight. Noticing Sora is distracted, Mukushima sees his chance. He launches forward, unleashing a powerful skill called Swift Strike, aiming to end the fight right there. But the attack slices through empty air. With his glowing purple eyes, Sora was waiting for this exact move. He vanishes in an instant, reappearing like a phantom behind the entire enemy squad. Panicked, another soldier fires off several energy blasts, but his shots hit nothing. Sora has completely outmaneuvered them, and now he's in the perfect position to strike back. Refusing to accept defeat, Mukushima plays his trump card. He believes that even Sora can't possibly react to a teleportation attack. Mukushima vanishes and reappears directly above his target, his fist screaming downwards for the finishing blow. But the attack never lands. With a calm and focused expression, Sora raises a single hand. A shockwave of dark energy erupts as he effortlessly catches the devastating punch, stopping it dead. Mukushima is left suspended in mid-air, his ultimate move completely nullified, his face a mask of pure disbelief. Seizing the opening, Mukushima drives his dagger straight into Sora's chest. To his horror, Sora's body feels like solid iron, trapping the blade. He can't even pull it out. Before Mukushima can react, Sora yanks the dagger free and unleashes a devastating counterpunch. The sheer wind pressure from the blow sends the soldier flying backward, already bleeding. He knows he needs to retreat, but it's too late. Sora instantly appears before him, his dark aura pulsing as he glares down at his terrified opponent. With an explosion of purple energy, Sora smashes Mukushima into the ground, ending the fight instantly. The soldier lies completely incapacitated, his last thought being that Sora was simply too fast. Ignoring the man on the ground, Sora walks calmly toward the rest of the terrified squad. They flinch and tremble, too scared to even breathe as he passes by. Looking towards the commanders, watching from afar, Sora calls out to his father, telling him he's leaving the other one to him. It was time to go home, as the defeated soldier is hauled away. Sora's father shakily confirms the fight is over. Later, at the Mukadori home, the group discusses the aftermath. The geezer asks if their captive talked, but the man was completely tight-lipped. While they now understand Tiger's Roar's stance, they're warned not to let their guard down. Something is bothering Sora's father, a concern that feels even bigger than their enemy's plans. A new threat seems to be looming just over the horizon, and they must be ready for it. Sora's father finally asks the big question: what happened to him these past 5 years? Sora explains that he fell into a strange space, one of the towers, and was forced to fight countless monsters just to survive. A montage of brutal memories flashes by, showing his relentless battles within the Dark Realm. He finishes his story, telling them a summoner brought him back. His father is shocked. He reveals there are 16 known towers, but none match Sora's description. The grim conclusion hits them all. Sora was in a completely unknown tower. The geezer processes the shocking news, immediately plotting to capture this unknown tower. Sora's father, however, is simply overwhelmed with emotion, just glad his son is finally home. The geezer laughs, amazed that Sora returned millions of times stronger than them all. But his father dismisses the power, pulling Sora into a tight hug and declaring their family will never be separated again. Noticing the scars on his father's hands, Sora understands they've all suffered. He makes a silent, resolute vow to never leave his family's side again. The lights suddenly flicker and die, plunging the entire house into darkness. The geezer is confused, questioning if it's a power outage, but the predicted storm hasn't even started. A cold, immense energy suddenly fills the room. Out of nowhere, the Eastern commander, Yuasa Nobuo, appears, holding the Abyss Seed tight in a crackling energy grip. The antagonist is furious but completely restrained. With a look of absolute resolve, Yuasa declares that this time, his target will not be getting away. The real hunt has just begun. The Eastern commander, Yuasa Nobuo, suddenly grits his teeth in pain. He curses under his breath as the familiar corrupting presence of the Abyss Seed invades his mind once more. Inside, the lights go out again, and Sora realizes his parents can't sense the immense power at play. Just as quickly as the dark influence took hold, it suddenly flees from Yuasa's body. The commander is left stunned, questioning whether the entity was forcefully dispelled or if it had just abandoned him on its own accord. The battle of wills was over in an instant. A ghostly figure with long white hair materializes from the shadows behind Yuasa. With a sinister grin, it greets him as the Abyss Shield. Yuasa is stunned, wondering if this entity has a will of its own. He tries to brush it off as a simple hallucination to be dealt with later, but the phantom mocks his denial, asking if he's just pretending not to hear. It scoffs at how mortals love to deceive themselves. To prove it's real, the entity grabs Yuasa's head, challenging him to deny its existence now. The commander recoils as dark energy fades from his eyes, realizing the phantom was no hallucination. Suddenly, the geezer shouts Sora's name in alarm. Everyone turns to see our hero being consumed by shadowy tendrils coiling around his body. Yu Sonozaki immediately places her hands on him, trying to cast a purification spell. But a system message reveals he isn't in a cursed state. Across the room, Yuasa watches in absolute horror. He finally understands. The Abyss entity has just found its physical body. As the entity seizes complete control, Sora's body moves in a blur of dark energy. His parents are terrified, shouting his name and asking if there's an enemy, but they can't see the malevolent force. Inside his mind, Sora panics, knowing his family is in danger. The entity mocks him, asking if he's scared. Sora's consciousness fights back, calling it a despicable bastard. The creature just laughs, telling Sora not to get the wrong idea. It then introduces itself as Fotoru, a name that spells nothing but trouble for our hero. The entity possessing Sora, Fotoru, reveals his true identity as a dark god from the noble Asa tribe. He explains that the black crystal Sora absorbed in the abyss was actually his own power. Because Sora selfishly escaped that realm, he is now being hunted by dangerous agents of God. Fotoru delivers an ultimatum: return to the tower with him, or face certain doom. While Sora's father prepares to attack, his mother stops him, urging caution. Fotoru smirks, impressed that Sora's parents were strong enough to defeat a Shinmei. Inside Sora's mind, the entity Fotoru takes the form of a robed figure, mocking the strength of Sora's parents. He reveals that after an event called Ragnarok, the divine power of his tribe vanished, leaving him much weaker than other beings like him. Despite this, he threatens that he can still easily overpower Sora. Unconvinced, Sora's consciousness demands to know why he should believe him. Fotoru just laughs maniacally, warning the boy that he will regret his disbelief when a rain of blood falls upon the land because of his choice. A brutal scene unfolds elsewhere. A monk named Shuzenji lies defeated, wondering what to do. Before he can react, a mysterious man grabs him by the throat and a blinding golden light erupts from his hand. The sheer force lifts Shuzenji into the air. In that moment, something incredible happens. His vision returns. But the assault isn't over. Another man watches in horror as the monk is viciously slammed into the ground. Shuzenji looks up in shock, recognizing his attacker as Yuasa, the Eastern commander, calls out his name with a grin. A mysterious monk suddenly appears, calmly greeting Commander Yuasa on his safe return. Yuasa's companion asks if they know each other, but the commander reveals a deeper connection. This is the man he started a guild with. Meanwhile, the defeated Shuzenji struggles against an unseen force, demanding the monk release him. The companion is shocked, asking how Yuasa can even see him. The mysterious monk cuts in, stating they need to talk urgently. When pressed for an explanation, Yuasa simply says he'll clarify everything after speaking with the man's son. The mysterious monk cuts to the chase, addressing the emergency. He tells Commander Yuasa that although he isn't an Azura, he possesses a unique insight that allows him to perceive divine power. This very insight enabled him to use a forbidden art to seal a powerful being known as a king. He explains that Yuasa's power is the same type, but vastly stronger. The monk warns that there's no time to waste, as other powerful entities have gathered in town, drawn to Yuasa's immense energy. The commander confirms that what Fotoru said was true. The monk urgently warns Commander Yuasa that he must not return to the abyss. He reveals Fotoru is trying to trick him, luring him back simply to reclaim his divine power. The monk's solution: enlist in the army. Yuasa scoffs at the suggestion, questioning why he joined the very group that tried to eliminate him with a bomb. The monk chuckles, assuring him the Azura won't interfere. He then makes a bold declaration. As long as he is present, no one will act because a Rakan is just as powerful as an Izura. Inside a high-level meeting room, the elite at Izura were gathered for a mission briefing. A warrior named Hiro Ryusei complained that deploying 4 of them for someone without a system was a pointless mission. Another man explained their target was Mukashima's son, who had been missing for years and likely just got lucky. A long-haired man coolly stated that such trash could be handled by Hiro alone. This comment enraged the muscular Shiraya Yuhinojo, who furiously grabbed the man by his collar, demanding he repeat what he just said. The argument is cut short when a powerful woman, the Athena Azura, declares she's joining the operation. The others are stunned to see their boss getting involved. The Hermes Azura explains it's a direct order from their supreme leader, Zeus. The mission has now expanded. Not only must they eliminate Sora, but also his parents and their entire alliance who rejected their proposal. With the 16th tower about to activate, Zeus gives the final command with glowing eyes. They will wipe them all out together. Elsewhere, the monk meets with a new group. The monk, Shuzenji, assured the woman beside him that she would be safe under his protection. He then issued a crucial warning. Someone needed to check on the curse practitioner. If a battle broke out, a curse formation would be powerful enough to nullify even the legendary Tiger Roar. The woman turned to Commander Yuasa, telling him to trust the Alliance's plan. Yuasa reluctantly agreed. 15 minutes later, Shuzenji waited alone outside the building. Suddenly, he sensed movement in the darkness. As footsteps closed in, he announced that their enemies had arrived. Without warning, dozens of shadowy projectiles tear through the night air, converging on Shuzenji's location. The attack is swift and merciless, aimed to instantly eliminate him. But the veteran monk is prepared. He shouts, activating his golden bell barrier. A massive golden shield materializes just in time to absorb the devastating impact. While the barrier holds, the sheer force of the blast sends everyone else flying. As the dust settles, a group of imposing figures with glowing eyes steps out from the shadows, their arrival marking the true beginning of the assault. As the golden barrier shatters, Shuzenji stares in disbelief. He recognizes the attackers. 4 elite members of the Azura clan. The monk breaks into a cold sweat when he spots the infamous Mukai Licht leading the charge. This is bad. A man in a suit, their boss, steps forward and gives a single command to a fighter named Yukinojo. With a sinister grin, the white-haired warrior responds. A terrifying purple energy immediately crackles around his hand as he prepares to unleash the next devastating attack. The warm-up is officially over. Suddenly, dark, wispy tendrils of energy erupt from the ground, swirling around Shuzenji's team. The man in the vest is completely baffled by the strange phenomenon, but the monk realizes the horrifying truth. The enemy's Oni soul has pinpointed everyone's location. Even their hidden stealth units are exposed. A system window confirms the massive power gap. The attackers are all over level 100. The white-haired warrior reveals their target isn't here. Mukai Licht demands to know where he is, but Shuzenji has no idea who they're looking for. One of the attackers completely loses his cool, screaming at the monk. Unfazed, Shuzenji calmly insults the man's intelligence, which only makes the fighter see red. He promises to make the monk pay for his arrogance. But before a move can be made, an ally acts. From a hidden spot, a long-haired man chants, unleashing a curse of weakness on the invaders. A dark aura engulfs them, but one brute just laughs it off. He arrogantly declares that even cursed by a level 68 nobody, he alone is enough to crush them all. The overconfident brute scoffs at the curse, but his tune changes fast when Shuzenji grabs his wrist with bone-crushing force. The monk coldly informs the fighter that he knows nothing about their alliance. Suddenly, a system window flashes, and the brute is in disbelief. His level has plummeted from 105 all the way down to 71. Shuzenji, revealing himself as a level 75 Arhat, calls the massive debuff no big deal. Before the invader can process this, the monk sends him flying with a single, devastating palm strike to the chest. The curse rips through the invaders' ranks, and system windows confirm the devastating power drain. Even their leader, Mukai Licht, plummets from level 118 all the way down to 84. An ally explains that the curse slashes 34 levels from anyone inside the area, and he taunts the weakened foes. But Mukai isn't fazed in the slightest, he just laughs, finding the situation amusing. With a wicked grin, he calls on his subordinate Rim. In an instant, a woman's eyes glow as she unleashes a massive wave of energy. Confident Sora will be theirs. The massive energy wave wasn't an attack. It was a teleportation spell. In a flash, both sides are warped to a colossal coliseum. A system window confirms their new location, Athena's arena. While Sora's allies panic, Mukai Licht is ecstatic. He declares that his heart is racing, admitting this was all a trap laid for Sora. Annoyed by the others, he dismisses them as nuisances. When an ally demands to know what he did to their bosses, Mukai just smirks, summoning a glowing red sword and deciding to eliminate them all right now. In the ruins of the city, a mysterious figure suddenly plummets from the sky, landing with a ground-shaking impact that kicks up a cloud of debris. The soldiers are startled, but their blonde commander, Tonosaki Mie, watches cautiously. The dust clears to reveal a man with stark white hair. He meets her gaze and calmly announces that he is from the Union. With an air of authority that clashes with his words, he declares that he has come seeking military protection, leaving the commander to wonder who this powerful newcomer truly is. Back in the ruined city, Commander Tonosaki orders her soldier to lower his weapon, holding her ground against the mysterious newcomer. The white-haired man, completely unfazed, addresses her directly, asking if she is Mukushima Sora. He states he has questions for him. Meanwhile, Sora's allies are abruptly teleported into the massive Colosseum. Before they can process what's happening, a giant spear crashes down from above, embedding itself in the arena floor. Instantly, braziers surrounding them erupt in golden flames, signaling the start of a deadly trial. A mysterious woman with braided hair stands at the center of the arena, her eyes closed in solemn prayer. She calls out to the gods, asking them to bear witness to the coming battle, and to guide the duel. As she speaks, a brilliant golden light erupts around her, and the radiant image of a winged figure fills the sky. Suddenly, a booming voice echoes through the Colosseum, announcing the rules of the trial. Each side must present 5 warriors, and the first team to achieve 3 victories will be the winner. The mysterious woman reveals the trial's incredible stakes. The winning team will receive the blessing of Olympus itself. The losing side, however, faces a grim fate, destined to be consumed by the light of the gods. One of the warriors from Sora's group immediately questions this, pointing out that the rules demand 5 fighters, but they only have 8 people in total. With a chilling smile, the woman looks down on them, ominously replying that there are only 8 of them, for now, hinting at a dark twist to come. As the trial's terrifying rules sink in, the opposing warriors finally appear. One muscular brawler steps forward with a cocky grin, taunting Sora's group by asking who wants to go down first. Suddenly, a notification pops up in front of Kagawa Eiji. He has been formally challenged to battle. The monk, Shuzenji, blames himself for this mess, but Kagawa puts a hand on his shoulder. He reassures him, explaining that with a curse weakening their enemies, they have a real shot in a one-on-one fight. Their strategy is set, they just need 3 wins. Kagawa Eiji explains to his comrade that their most dangerous opponent is Ars Azura. The guy is a legendary fighter, so ferocious that he once single-handedly destroyed a guild that had 3 powerful Azuras of its own. A vision of a fiery, war-torn landscape flashes, showing just how much of a monster he is. But Kagawa isn't scared. He smirks, revealing that he has a strategy to deal with him. He tells the team to leave the first match to him and steps forward, a blue aura flaring around his feet as he enters the arena. With a confident smirk, Kagawa Eiji enters the grand arena and politely requests a duel. His opponent, the fearsome Ars Azura, glares back, his eye flaring with a menacing red light. Floating above them, the trial's overseer announces that both parties should take their positions. The command to begin the battle rings out. Kagawa barely has time to react as Ars Azura explodes forward in a blur of motion, closing the distance in an instant to unleash a powerful opening attack. The first clash of the trial is here. Tired of talking, Ars Azura lunges forward, unleashing a furious opening punch. Kagawa barely gets his guard up in time. The raw power of the impact, sending him sliding backward across the sand, a blue aura flaring at his feet. Ars mocks him, asking if running is all he can do, and follows up with a relentless barrage of heavy strikes. Kagawa weathers the storm, parrying each blow. Seeing his chance, he smirks and finally goes on the offensive, ducking under a punch to land a clean, staggering counter-strike right on his opponent's jaw. Enraged by the counter, Ars Azura's eye glows with crimson fury. He unleashes a devastating attack, a wave of raw power that engulfs the arena. Kagawa is forced to brace himself, defending against the massive impact. Watching from the sidelines, an observer notes Kagawa's cautious strategy, but the sheer force of the clash is overwhelming. The shockwave rips across the battlefield, catching one of Kagawa's allies, Shuzenji Yukio, clutching his severely injured arm. The monk collapses, a testament to Ars Azura's terrifying power. The real fight has just begun. Ars Azura flashes a wicked grin, deciding to get serious. He taunts his opponent, asking how he'll handle the Fang of Cadmos. His arm begins to transform, sprouting jagged, bone-like spikes and glowing with a sinister red light. From the stands, an observer realizes Ars is coordinating with his pet snake's power. Despite the clear danger, Kagawa smirks, declaring the fun is just starting. But the boosted attack sends him skidding across the ground. Ars roars in fury, shouting that his pet still isn't satisfied. He's just getting warmed up. The heavy punch sends Kagawa staggering backward, but Ars Azura gives him no room to breathe. His monstrous, transformed arm pulses with a sinister energy. Gritting his teeth, Kagawa curses in frustration, shocked by his opponent's sudden burst of speed. Ars lets out a savage roar, closing the distance in a flash. He lunges forward, and the jagged maw on his arm snaps viciously toward Kagawa's head. The relentless assault has just cranked up to a whole new level of deadly. Ars Azura's monstrous maw clamps down hard on Shuzenji's shoulder. The monk grits his teeth as a notification appears. He's been hit with dragon poison, and his stats are plummeting. Ars taunts him, impressed by his toughness, but the attack has a hidden purpose. His Fang of the Poison Dragon skill is absorbing Shuzenji's vitality to restore his own power. As stolen energy erupts from his back, a concerned ally activates Search Eye. He knows the power gap is widening fast, and he must find a weakness. With the monk poisoned, Ars Azura unleashes a brutal storm of punches. He roars, asking how it feels to have venom spreading through his body and taunting him to endure. Despite the relentless beatdown, Shuzenji begins chanting a sacred sutra. Ars scoffs, declaring that prayers are useless now. But from the stands, an observer notices something impossible. She questions her own eyes, wondering if a divine power is actually gathering around the cornered monk. This fight is far from over. As Ars unleashes a furious storm of punches, Shuzenji's chant reaches its peak. A colossal, golden avatar of a Buddha materializes behind him, its divine presence stunning everyone. The spectators watch in disbelief as the entity's massive hands effortlessly block Ars's relentless assault. Ars roars in defiance, declaring he doesn't care about gods and questioning if this power can truly stop him. But for the first time, his allies see a glimmer of hope. They might actually win. The colossal Buddha shatters, its golden light condensing around Shuzenji to form a brilliant suit of divine armor. He rockets toward Ars, prepared for a close-quarters clash. Ars explodes with laughter, mocking the monk for trying to fight him, hand to hand. He remembers another fool who made the same mistake. With a sinister grin, Ars reveals a horrifying truth. His power, Kodomos, doesn't just ignore divine energy, it devours it. To his monstrous companion, this holy power is a feast that makes him even stronger. Shuzenji's ultimate move has become his enemy's greatest weapon. Ars roars, promising to devour every piece of Shuzenji, just like the last fool who challenged him. He tells the monk to be swallowed by despair and accept his end. But before he can finish, Shuzenji closes the distance with blinding speed, slamming a devastating strike into the brawler's face. Ars is completely stunned, his expression contorting in disbelief. He can't comprehend how the monk managed to suppress the poison with divine power and regain his full speed. The tables have turned in an instant. The devastating blow sends Ars reeling, his face contorting in pure shock. He can't believe it. The monk's speed, power, and reaction time have all skyrocketed. But the brawler's surprise quickly twists into a sinister grin. He mocks Shuzenji, questioning what happened to his divine power. With a wild laugh, Ars declares that this holy energy is the ultimate feast for Kodomos. As his monstrous companion surges with energy, he roars for Shuzenji to become its next meal, completely turning the monk's trump card against him. With a crazed laugh, Ars declares he will take the monk's power. He roars in victory, certain the fight is over. But his triumph instantly turns to horror. The divine energy he absorbed goes haywire, surging uncontrollably within him. His eyes widen in disbelief as he realizes he can't contain the sacred power. Suddenly, Shuzenji appears with a knowing smirk, calmly asking if it's too early to celebrate. The monk reveals his true ace in the hole, a technique known simply as Arhat's power, turning the tables in spectacular fashion. Ars clutches his chest in agony, shouting that the monk's energy is too much for Kodomos to handle. He's in total disbelief that his ultimate trump card has failed. Shuzenji, glowing with golden light, simply scoffs at him, asking if he really thought that was divine power. Before Ars can react, the monk calls him naive and unleashes a ferocious lightning-fast strike. The brutal impact sends the brawler hurtling across the battlefield. Watching from afar, the others finally realize the true, devastating purpose behind Shuzenji's Arhat power. Aika finally explains the monk's terrifying secret. Becoming an Arhat transforms one's energy into karma force, a wild, destructive power. But she reveals its fatal weakness. Without virtue, this force consumes its user from the inside out. Shuzenji smirks, confirming his trap worked perfectly. Since Ars is completely devoid of virtue, he's now paralyzed by the very power he tried to steal. While Shosei cheers for the clever victory, Abbess Seed coldly shuts him down. He tells them it's too early to celebrate, warning them that they should never underestimate Azura. Struggling to his feet, Ars refuses to be beaten. The shadowy form of Kodomos flickers around him, taunting him for his rapidly fading divine power. Realizing this is his last chance, Ars grits his teeth in pure defiance. He decides to give it his all one last time. With a desperate roar, he unleashes every last bit of energy he has left. A violent, red aura erupts from his body as he charges forward, aiming to overwhelm the monk with one final devastating blow. But Arce's final gambit wasn't a physical blow. He gets just close enough to unleash a spray of dark liquid onto Shuzenji. The monk recoils in shock, realizing it's potent dragon's blood, a deadly poison. While Abyss Seed's subordinate wonders if the monk is done for, Abyss Seed coolly states that he already fled. A distant voice then roars, commanding Lord Ars to offer the poison blood. In response, a grotesque, fleshy mass erupts from the ground, signaling that the real nightmare has only just begun. A voice roars from the swirling mass, vowing to keep fighting until his body gives out. Red energy crackles and condenses into a glowing spear. Abyss Seed's subordinate coolly observes that Shuzenji has been defeated. However, a woman corrects him, explaining that what they're witnessing is the summoning of a divine weapon. She reveals that the monk offered the dragon's poison as a sacrifice to call upon this incredible power. This, she says, is the insurmountable gap between normal players and true gods. If they win, they might be forgiven. If they lose, the punishment is unthinkable. The summoned divine weapon materializes, a warrior god radiating immense power. The woman watching confidently declares that normal players stand no chance against such a being. On the battlefield, Shuzenji is baffled, wondering where the spear went and why this new foe is preparing for a close-range brawl. Suddenly, the divine warrior rockets forward in a blur of red energy. Shuzenji thinks the attack will fall short, but in an instant, the godly fist is right in his face. With a furious shout, the warrior commands his attack to explode. The divine warrior's fist explodes with red energy, smashing right into Shuzenji. The monk is sent reeling, realizing he's in deep trouble. Thankfully, his special robe absorbs most of the impact, but the attack left a nasty surprise. Red energy crackles around his arm, and a system notice confirms his worst fear. The warrior's blood is corrosive, cutting his robe's defense by half. His prized equipment is literally melting off him. With no time to breathe, the godlike fighter charges in again, tearing a brutal gash right through the monk. Shuzenji realizes in horror that the warrior can attack with its entire body, not just its fists. The divine being unleashes a merciless barrage, daring the monk to even try dodging. But it's useless. Shuzenji can't predict any of the moves. Corrosive red spikes lash out from all directions, relentlessly striking him and melting his equipment. He curses his restricted power, knowing that if he weren't already weakened, he'd be done for. His only thought is to make some distance, but a crimson tendril instantly shoots forward and impales his hand. Shuzenji desperately leaps back, trying to create some space. He begins a solemn chant, praying for purification and the erasure of sin. The divine warrior scoffs, asking if the monk has finally reached his limit. It warns him that backing away is pointless, as corrosive tendrils form from its hands. But the monk has a final trick up his sleeve. With glowing eyes, he brings a finger to his lips, preparing to unleash his trump card, the Silent Law Realm Curse. The divine warrior looks on, caught completely off guard. The monk unleashes his final gambit, the Silent Law Realm Curse, a holy spell designed to purify evil and weaken the warrior's corrosive power. But his opponent instantly sees the trick, mocking the attempt to seal his movements as naive. As Yuasa Nobuo screams a panicked warning, the divine warrior explodes with a torrent of crimson energy. The attack slams into Shuzenji before he can react, leaving him utterly wrecked. He grits his teeth, having survived the overwhelming blast by the skin of his teeth, whispering that he made it out just barely. Suddenly, a radiant four-armed being descends from the heavens. She locks eyes with Yuasa Nobuo, declaring that those who interfere in duels must be punished. Without another word, golden flames erupt and engulf the commander, forcing him to his knees in agony. A green light quickly washes over him, extinguishing the fire. Though he survives, a system message reveals his life force has been drained. The divine warrior taunts Shuzenji, stating that the commander's interruption is the only reason he's still alive. The goddess declares the punishment is paid as a barrier seals the battlefield. Shuzenji analyzes his opponent's troublesome fighting style, which combines close-quarters combat with long-range blood arrows. He knows he can only last another 3 minutes at this rate. The divine warrior scoffs at the destruction, declaring the victory is already his. But the monk isn't finished yet. Believing that all methods return to one, he resolves to awaken a power beyond his current limits. To win, he must open the Dharma Eye. Focusing all his energy, his eyes ignite with a brilliant golden light, a sacred symbol burning within them. This is his final gambit. With his Dharma Eye blazing, Shuzenji analyzes the battlefield at superhuman speed. He knows this power boost is temporary and he must find an opening, and fast. His heightened senses reveal a critical weakness. The warrior's spear barely contains any divine energy. His mind then flashes back to the blood arrows used earlier in the fight. Suddenly, it all makes sense. The monk's glowing eyes narrow as he understands his opponent's secret. He has finally found the path to victory. He just needs to seize it. The divine warrior lunges with his blood spear, but Shuzenji effortlessly catches the tip between his palms. The warrior is stunned, realizing his attack has been completely seen through. With a smirk, the monk calls the famed blood spear unimpressive and shatters it with a single clap. Before the warrior can react, Shuzenji lands a powerful palm strike squarely on his chest. The spectators watch in awe, realizing the monk's glowing eyes can see through any deception. They finally understand. There was a countermeasure to this divine power all along. Even with the warrior down, Shuzenji senses the evil energy left behind and declares he will purify it all. But his opponent isn't finished. He screams that even if his attack was seen through, he can still control any blood his divine power has touched. In a final, desperate move, he commands the crimson pools on the ground. Sharp, dark tendrils erupt and surge toward the monk. The spectators watch in horror, realizing the blood is thin enough to pierce any defense, making this a deadly last-ditch assault. The crowd holds its breath, wondering how the monk can possibly survive this. The warrior roars that there's no escape, commanding the blood tendrils to finish the job. But just as the deadly spikes are about to connect, Shuzenji unleashes the full power of his Dharma Eye. A holy light erupts, not from the monk, but from the warrior himself. He screams in agony as the divine energy purifies the evil within him. A glowing symbol appears in Shuzenji's hand, halting the attack completely, leaving his opponent to stare in utter shock. Shuzenji calmly states that all beings are trapped by their own ignorance. Down below, the defeated warrior's allies are in chaos, shouting that the monk's eyes can see through their divine power. One of them screams in frustration that their attacks are completely useless. Suddenly, a new challenger appears. A radiant woman descending in a pillar of golden light. A system voice issues a simple warning, but this only infuriates the others. They roar in protest, questioning why their boss got a harsh penalty while this woman only got a slap on the wrist. As one of the defeated warrior's allies tries to intervene, a senior figure grabs him, demanding he stop and watch the victory unfold. On the stage, the warrior struggles against the monk's power, yelling that he doesn't need his help, but Shuzenji isn't offering help, he's delivering judgment. The monk unleashes a blinding golden aura, manifesting a massive sacred deity behind him. The warrior stares in pure shock, recognizing the powerful sutra. Overwhelmed by the divine energy, he can only curse the monk as the sacred form's power washes over him. The warrior realizes this is the first sutra all monks learn, but this basic scripture is far from weak. It channels the might of Fudo Myo-O, more than doubling the user's power. The catch? It demands 30 seconds of perfect concentration. To perform it in front of an enemy is the ultimate display of dominance. With a chilling grin, Shuzenji completes the chant. The warrior howls in agony as the divine energy purges him from within, causing his own corrupt power to erupt violently from his body. Shuzenji is certain that a surprise attack is pointless against his all-seeing Dharma Eye. His opponent can't even scratch him, but the warrior makes a desperate last stand. He forcibly shatters the seal, suppressing his own evil dragon's blood, unleashing a violent torrent of dark power as he screams for the monk to perish. Shuzenji is stunned that raw force should have broken his concentration. Bleeding from his eyes, the warrior roars in fury. He only has 15 seconds left to stop the sutra and claim victory. The warrior is at his absolute limit, stunned that even unleashing his dragon's blood couldn't break the monk's concentration. He collapses under the immense pressure of the golden deity, cursing his own powerlessness. As the crowd counts down the final seconds, Shuzenji remains perfectly still, his focus unshakable. Despite the strain on his own body, he recites the final lines of the sacred sutra. Bringing his hands together with a sharp clap, the monk completes the chant, preparing to unleash a wave of pure divine judgment. With a final clap, Shuzenji unleashes a blinding torrent of divine judgment. The warrior is instantly engulfed, his corrupt dragon energy completely purified by the golden light. As the battlefield falls silent, the monk stands alone, wincing as blood trickles from his eyes. He reflects that he won just moments before his own power overloaded his Dharma Eye. Suddenly, the arena erupts in cheers. An announcer declares victory for the allied guild, and the exhausted monk offers a weary but triumphant smile, securing the first win for his team. After Shuzenji's victory, the scene shifts to the defeated warrior. A woman with an icy gaze heals his wounds with a swirl of blue energy, questioning if he's recovered. The warrior is silent, completely drained as a ghostly skull floats from his head. She coldly tells him to do his best, at most. But he's not broken yet. Glaring forward, two golden spirits of ancient fighters manifest behind him. They declare that Athena's hypocritical arena makes them sick, hinting at a much deeper conflict at play. The warrior's teammate starts to apologize for their loss, but gets brutally shut down. Suddenly, the golden spirits deliver a chilling message from their father, declaring his disappointment. They consider it an honor to be the ones to carry out his judgment. Before the warrior can even process this betrayal, the two phantoms unleash a vicious flurry of attacks, relentlessly striking him down. Watching from the sidelines, Kagawa Eiji is stunned that they would turn on their own. One of the spirits calmly states that this is their father's final mercy. The two golden spirits fade away, bidding a final farewell to their fallen teammate. Face down in the dirt, the warrior Shugo glares after them, vowing to settle the score next time. However, a woman coldly informs him there won't be a next time. Suddenly, a man with long white hair steps forward, a sinister smile on his face. An explosive wave of dark purple energy erupts around him as he summons a massive, wicked scythe. He declares that starting now, Shugo is going to burn in the eternal flames of Hades. With the Grim Reaper standing over his fallen foe, Kagawa Eiji steps forward, telling his team to leave it to him. A woman observes that the enemy's power is tied to spirits, handing Kagawa a small red item that she says will be handy. He accepts, promising to make good use of it as a notification confirms the item is from Mukushima Yoi. After a quick good luck, Kagawa is off, sprinting into the arena. He knows the samurai's ranged sword aura is too slow, so his strategy is to close the distance instantly with Shunpo. Kagawa quickly runs through his strategy. Parry, use Renzan to overwhelm his opponent, and then land a finishing blow on a weak spot. The scythe wielder acknowledges it's a simple, yet efficient plan. As a golden figure officially begins the combat, the enemy immediately attacks, unleashing a torrent of dark energy slashes while screaming for Kagawa to die. But Kagawa is ready, intending to use Shunpo to dodge the onslaught and analyze his foe's movements. In an instant, a massive explosion of purple and blue energy erupts as their attacks collide head-on. As the smoke from their clash settles, the scythe wielder grins mockingly. He taunts Kagawa, asking if that pathetic attack is all a samurai can do, but his opponent is already gone. In a flash, Kagawa reappears behind him, his blade slicing through the air for a decisive strike. To his absolute shock, the sword cuts through nothing but a shadowy decoy. Kagawa can't believe it, he missed. As the dark purple energy swarms around him, he realizes his simple plan has just gone completely sideways. He's in trouble. The scythe wielder descends with a furious swing, his blade passing through a dispersing Kagawa. He grins, tauntingly asking if that's all Kagawa has to offer. He mocks the samurai further, shouting that physical attacks are useless against his shadow form. A swirling vortex of dark energy erupts, completely trapping Kagawa. But just as the situation looks grim, a voice suddenly yells out, telling him to look over here. Stunned, Kagawa's head whips around, searching for the source of the unexpected call. The scythe wielder mocks Kagawa, calling him a useless beast as dozens of shadow clones swarm the samurai. He laughs, declaring that his vengeful spirits are infinite and the battle will never end. Overwhelmed, Kagawa realizes his mistake. A samurai who can't even recognize his true opponent is worthless. With a surge of determination, he plants his feet to gather his sword aura. Seeing this, the enemy screams that he won't give Kagawa any time to power up, ordering the clones to attack at once. But Kagawa isn't going down that easy. He explodes with a blinding vortex of sword energy, his blade becoming a blur of light that rips through the shadow clones. The dark figures dissolve in an instant. From a distance, an observer notes that this is the clear difference in power between an Azura and a normal person. Her companion scoffs, dismissing it as luck. She immediately corrects him, saying that a samurai becoming a guildmaster is anything but lucky. Her eyes narrow as she analyzes the true enemy, wondering why she's so confident. There's no doubt she's hiding something. Just as the scythe wielder mocks Kagawa's power, he spots a new challenger and taunts him, asking if he has a new move. But the female observer's eyes go wide with panic as she screams a desperate warning. In a split second, Sora explodes from his position, unleashing his leap assassination skill. He crosses the distance in a blur, appearing directly in the villain's personal space. The scythe wielder is completely stunned, his mind struggling to comprehend how Sora appeared so fast, leaving him utterly defenseless against the sudden attack. A flashback reveals the origin of the 6th Refuge's first exploration base. Back then, the military and players joined forces to clear out monster nests. They discovered a mine teeming with creatures and set up camp. At first, the mission was a breeze with only weak monsters to deal with, but their confidence led them to push deeper into the mine, and that's when everything changed. The types of monsters, their numbers, and their sheer power exploded. The routine clearing operation instantly turned into a desperate fight for survival against an overwhelming horde. The simple clearing mission turned into a nightmare. Deep inside the mine, the team discovered an entire monster ecosystem ruled by a terrifying level 80 spider. They were completely outmatched, with no hope of victory. In that moment of pure despair, one man, Mukushima, made the ultimate sacrifice. He lured the colossal beast away, creating an opening for everyone to escape. No one knew what became of him, but 3 days later, the spider's pained screams echoed from the depths just as the entire cave began to collapse. As his comrades watched in despair, Mukushima suddenly burst from the collapsing cave, having survived against all odds. He used the legendary skill, Hasotobi, the eightfold leap. This incredible technique allows up to 8 consecutive jumps, with the user's speed multiplying exponentially each time. In the present, Sora recalls using this very skill 3 times to escape a powerful foe. Now, bracing himself, he plants his foot and unleashes the 4th leap, exploding forward with immense force and speed. Sora explodes forward, moving so fast he's just a blur. The Abyss Seed is completely stunned, exclaiming internally that his opponent is somehow getting even faster with each leap. He spins around, trying to track Sora's movements, but he's just swinging at empty air. Spotting him for a split second, he thinks he's got him pinned. But it's too late. Sora kicks off the air itself, unleashing his 5th jump. He becomes a bolt of pure energy, rocketing down from the sky as his foe looks up in disbelief. Sora explodes into his 6th jump, moving faster than sight. The Abyss Seed is completely blindsided, unable to react as a dark line is drawn across his chest. But Sora gives him no time to breathe, instantly pushing off the ground for his 7th leap. He realizes that with the power he inherited from that hero, he has already wiped out the surrounding souls. Now, harnessing this incredible speed advantage, he resolves to cut his foe down before any more spirits can even be generated. He will end this now. Sora's blade slams into the Abyss Seed's scythe with explosive force. He realizes his unmatched speed is the ultimate counter. By pressing the attack, he can prevent any more souls from being generated. With grim certainty, he knows he can win. A spectral warrior, the source of his heroic legacy, appears behind him, channeling immense power. Elsewhere, a high-ranking observer is stunned, admitting that this strength alone is enough to rival entire guilds. The world's lore then unfolds, explaining the tower is a manifestation of human history and mythology, a blend of legendary realms. The lore explains that heroes exist to represent history itself, but inheriting a heroic legacy is a whole different league from being chosen by the gods. It's a fateful encounter. Back in the fight, the Abyss Seed scoffs at Sora, questioning if he really thinks he can win in close combat. He boasts that a mortal's weapon can never hope to beat a Reaper's scythe. Sora, however, remains focused. He recognizes the scythe is a divine artifact, but that also means it's not something a human can handle easily, giving him the upper hand. Sora easily predicts his opponent's move. By forcing the Abyss Seed to swing his massive scythe, he creates the perfect opening. Sora slides under the wide arc of the blade, mocking his foe for not knowing how to use his own weapon. The Abyss Seed's face contorts in shock as he realizes his fatal mistake. Sora grins, revealing he was only planning to use his next skill to dodge. Too bad for the villain. This is the 8th leap. From afar, an elder watching the fight knows exactly what this means, and declares the battle is over. The elder watching from afar can't believe it's over yet. As Sora closes in for the final strike, the Abyss Seed erupts in a sinister laugh. He mocks Sora's confident expression, then vanishes. The elder realizes with horror that the villain's teleport skill has no cooldown. In a flash, the Abyss Seed reappears directly behind Sora, asking who said he could only switch places with spirits. Before our hero can react, a shadowy hand strikes his back, flooding his body with a wave of corrupting energy. The elder watching from the sidelines shouts out in alarm, realizing the fight has taken a terrible turn. Sora is blindsided, as a system window declares he's been branded with the Mark of Hades. Our hero can't believe he let his guard down. The Abyss Seed reveals his trump card. He can become an untouchable spirit. He then explains the horrifying consequences of the mark. If Sora is struck 3 more times, his soul will be completely enslaved. Surrounded by a legion of dark spirits, the villain vows he won't give Sora another chance. Mukushima is in a tough spot. He knows if the Mark of Hades reaches level 4, it's game over for his soul. But the Abyss Seed has him completely cornered. If he gets too close, the villain will land another cursed strike. If he stays back, the legion of dark spirits will overwhelm him. To make things worse, his best movement skill is still on cooldown. The Abyss Seed admits Mukushima has talent but calls him a nobody as he charges forward. The villain knows he needs to finish this fast, as his spirit form constantly drains his mana. The Abyss Seed confidently declares that, like a demon soul, he's immune to physical attacks. As Sora swings his blade, it phases harmlessly through the villain's spiritual body. The Abyss Seed mocks our hero, calling him fast but soft. But Sora's attack was just a distraction. He immediately follows up with a powerful right hook, landing a clean hit on the villain's jaw. The Abyss Seed stumbles back in shock, unable to believe he was struck. Recovering, he laughs maniacally, vowing that Sora can't run from his cursed fate forever. The enraged Abyss Seed describes the curse's horrifying effects, warning that Sora's body will crumble away. He declares that once the curse is complete, Sora's soul will be bound, turning him into a mindless puppet. But our hero isn't fazed. He dashes forward and lands another brutal punch right on the villain's jaw. As the Abyss Seed recovers, he boasts about his revenant shade, A system window reveals the final stage. At level 4, the mark's victim becomes a wraith. Unimpressed, Sora unleashes a massive spinning kick, sending his enemy flying. The Abyss Seed laughs manically, declaring Sora's efforts pointless as he dodges another scythe swing. The villain realizes our hero's plan is to run him out of mana and break his spirit form, but he smirks, thinking it won't work since he has 3 minutes left. Suddenly, Sora plants his feet, his blade glowing as he channels energy for the 4th mark. The Abyss Seed calls him an idiot for leaving himself open. Unleashing his ultimate skill, Revenant Shade, he commands Sora to become a wraith as a dark spirit lunges forward. Just as the dark spirit lunges, Sora reveals his trump card. He wraps a glowing paper charm around his sword's hilt, infusing the blade with divine energy. The Abyss Seed, believing sword aura is physical, thinks the attack has landed and won't harm him. He's completely wrong. Sora's enhanced blade slices cleanly through the spiritual attack. An ally watching from a distance reveals the plan. The charm was specially made with sacred water and cleric's magic. It was designed for one purpose, to exorcise spirits and counter the villain's power. Sora declares that his attack is now at its most effective. An ally watching from afar reveals this was their countermeasure all along. With a mighty swing, Sora's wholly infused scythe unleashes a massive wave of energy, shredding the dark spiritual forces. But the Abyss Seed just laughs maniacally, shouting that it's too late. He claims the 4th mark is already carved. Suddenly, corrupting flames erupt around Sora as strange purple symbols burn onto his skin. Our hero is trapped in the villain's ultimate curse. The Abyss Seed commands Sora to become his puppet as a tidal wave of corrupting energy crashes down. Our hero roars in agony, the dark curse burning into his very soul. But just as the villain celebrates his victory, he stops in shock. Sora stands firm, glaring through the violent purple storm. He mocks his enemy, asking if he really thought he'd just turn into a wraith. With a defiant grin, Sora declares that having his flesh burned away only made him feel lighter. The curse didn't break him. It empowered him. The Abyss Seed completely loses his composure, frantically shouting for someone to stop Sora. He's in total shock, unable to grasp how our hero is still fighting after every countermeasure has failed. He miscalculated, thinking Sora's speed skill was still on cooldown. But it's too late for regrets. With blinding speed, Sora closes the distance, declaring the fight is over. He slams his palm into the ground, unleashing a chaotic explosion of corrupted and holy energy that tears the entire battlefield apart in a brilliant flash. As the battlefield recovers from the massive explosion, Kagawa Eiji finds himself engulfed in the Abyss Seed's corrupting darkness. But he refuses to surrender to the curse. With a furious roar, he declares that before he's turned into a wraith, he will end the villain himself. Pouring every last bit of his strength into his sword, Kagawa unleashes a brilliant, spinning vortex of light. The attack tears through the shadows, but the Abyss Seed remains unimpressed, mocking the desperate display of power. The Abyss Seed screams in disbelief, unable to block a single strike from Kagawa's assault. But Kagawa isn't stopping. He roars that if one hit isn't enough, he will keep attacking until his enemy is completely finished. With glowing eyes, he unleashes a furious storm of blinding sword strikes, each slash tearing through the purple darkness. The villain's shadowy form begins to shatter under the relentless onslaught, forcing him to admit defeat. As the Abyss Seed fades away, Kagawa stands over him, declaring that victory is his. Engulfed by the Abyss Seed's corrupting darkness, Kagawa refuses to go down. With a furious roar, he declares that before he's turned into a spirit, he'll take the villain down with him. Pouring every last bit of his strength into his blade, he erupts in a blinding storm of light. The Abyss Seed is stunned, completely unable to block the relentless assault. He screams in disbelief, realizing he totally underestimated Kagawa's resolve as the final, decisive strike connects, shattering the villain's shadowy defenses. The Abyss Seed stammers, finally admitting defeat as his shadowy form crumbles under the assault. Kagawa stands over him, sword still crackling with power, and quietly declares his victory. In his final moments, the villain lets out an agonizing scream and completely disintegrates. When the dust settles, a new, well-dressed man appears on the scene. This is Mukai Licht, and he looks down at the remains with disgust, calling the creature a disgrace to Esura. He then turns his gaze to the distance, impatiently telling someone to hurry up and get there already. From high above the city, Mukai Licht looks down, unimpressed, muttering that this is a boring way to end things. Below, Kagawa's celebration is cut brutally short. One of the fighters senses something wrong. The dark energy is swelling, growing stronger than ever before. Before anyone can react, shadowy tendrils erupt from the ground, completely ensnaring Kagawa. As he's consumed by darkness, Sora grits his teeth in defiance. Refusing to give up, he resolves to try one more time as a strange new symbol flares to life in his eye. Just as the dark energy swells, a horrifying skeletal creature bursts forth from the shadows. It towers over the fallen Kagawa, mockingly calling him a pitiful brother. Kagawa, completely outmatched, desperately pleads for just one more chance. The monster dismisses his pleas, stating that cheap tricks are useless. It declares that power is everything, and with a sickening crunch of its fist, it announces that the lives of everyone present will end right here. Kagawa's struggle is over, and a new, more terrifying nightmare has just begun. The onlookers stare in disbelief, with one man screaming in horror that this is Hades Enra's true form. Far above the chaos, Mukai licked smirks, finding the sudden turn of events interesting. The colossal skeletal monster then gives a chilling monologue. It reveals that the first person it ever took down after becoming an Asura was its own brother. Now, it has lost count of its victims. As a shadowy army rises behind it, the monster declares that once you fall, you become its puppet. The skeletal monster roars that Shoji Shido's fate will be the same as all the others. Suddenly, a notification for Hades Mark 11 appears, leaving Shoji in disbelief. He thought the mark should have disappeared. With his best skill still on cooldown, he questions if he has any moves left. Cornered and out of options, he clenches his jaw in frustration, but just as he hits rock bottom, a strange new feeling takes over. A massive wave of dark energy erupts from his body, his eyes glowing with a menacing light. Fueled by this strange new power, Shoji rockets toward the skeletal monster, feeling a grim sense of familiarity. With nothing left to lose, he slams his blade into the massive beast. The creature lets out an earth-shattering roar as the sheer force of the blow sends Chuji flying backward. He crashes hard onto the ground, defeated but not broken. As his allies watch in horror, Shoji grits his teeth. He refuses to fall, not until everyone has safely withdrawn. He's their last line of defense, and he's not giving up. Just as the skeletal beast lunges for Choji, another warrior realizes he won't make it in time. Desperate to draw its attention, he searches for a weakness, knowing normal attacks are useless. His eyes lock onto a sword already embedded in the monster's skull. That's his opening. With a powerful throw, his own blade flies through the air, striking the hilt of the lodged weapon. The impact drives it deeper, and the beast howls in agony. He celebrates the direct hit, but the enraged monster now has a new target. Him. The warrior boldly taunts the creature, calling it an ugly spider freak, but his bravery is met with pure rage. The beast unleashes a furious roar and swings its massive limb with devastating force. The attack connects, sending the man soaring through the air before he smashes hard into the ground. As he struggles to move, the monster looms over him, its many eyes glowing with contempt. He looks up, questioning if this is all he was capable of. In his final moments, he finds peace in knowing he saved a few others. As the survivors flee, the fallen warrior is consumed by regret, wishing he had been stronger. Just as the monster looms over him for the final strike, a voice commands him not to give up. An old man suddenly appears, enveloped in a glowing blue aura as a massive spiritual warrior materializes to block the beast's attack. The warrior realizes this isn't just any power, it's the legendary Crow Tengu. It dawns on him that it's not just monsters in this world. The heroes of legend have descended too. The rescued man looks up, thanking the mysterious being for saving him and asking who he is. The winged spirit introduces himself as the legendary Crow Tengu. He explains that he's on a quest, fulfilling the will of a fallen warrior by searching for someone worthy to inherit the famed blade, Kumogiri, the spider cutter. But there's a problem. The very spider yokai that the sword had previously defeated has returned to life, burning with an ancient grudge. The monster ambushed the spirit, leading to the desperate battle they're now in. The spirit recounts his history with the monster. In a past life, he managed to strike a devastating blow to the spider yokai's head, but it wasn't a fatal hit. Their epic clash ended in a stalemate, with both of them taking each other out of commission. But seeing the warrior bravely protect strangers gave the Tengu hope. He believed this man was the key to finally breaking the deadlock. He asked the warrior to join him to defeat the spider and reclaim the sacred sword. The man, honored, accepted the pact, and the Tengu began training him personally to master the heroic legacy. The warrior explained his training under the legendary Crow Tengu. He confessed that he lacked the talent to inherit all of the hero's power. Out of 6 secret techniques, he could only master 3. But the spirit was confident, believing that if they fought together, it would be enough. He remembered their brutal battle against the spider yokai. Using a skill called the Eightfold Step, the warrior launched himself into the air. He soared toward the monster, channeling all his power to deliver a decisive blow right to its head. The warrior finishes his story, explaining how his final attack succeeded in taking down the great spider yokai. Following their victory, the Crow Tengu entrusted him with 3 legendary blades. But this incredible honor came with a promise. The man swore that if he ever found someone more worthy of the sword, he would pass the legacy on. Back in the present, he unleashes a powerful roar, his body crackling with energy as he battles shadowy figures. He confesses that he has never once felt truly worthy of the power he wields. The warrior crashes down, unleashing a powerful shockwave that sends the shadowy figures flying. But despite his efforts, the horde presses in, seemingly endless. He stumbles, realizing he's being overwhelmed. With no other option, he decides to borrow the immense power hidden within his blade. A brilliant teal light erupts from the sword as he grips its hilt. He grits his teeth, knowing that if he falls here, he'll break the sacred promise he made to the man who saved his life. His eyes glow with fierce determination, ready to risk everything. With a furious roar, the warrior unleashes the sword's hidden power. A blinding teal energy explodes from his body, erupting across the battlefield in a devastating shockwave. The entire horde of shadow monsters is instantly vaporized. Watching from a distance, the geezer is stunned by the raw power. He questions if even this is enough to defeat the true enemy, reflecting that a hero is still just a man. But as the warrior takes his stance, the ghostly spirit of the legendary crow Tengu appears right behind him, ready to strike as one. A godlike figure scoffs, declaring that a hero's weapon can't possibly beat a god. As he speaks, a colossal skeletal monster rises from the darkness, its terrifying presence looming over the battlefield. But the creature hesitates, shocked by the sheer power radiating from the warrior's glowing blade. It questions if what it's feeling is fear. Snapping out of it, the monster points and commands its entire army to stop him. The horde of shadow soldiers surges forward, crashing into the lone warrior who stands as a beacon of light against the swarm. He reflects on his legendary sword. Ever since it defeated the spider monster, it has held the power to suppress evil itself. But he questions if that sacred power is enough to challenge a literal god. As his teal energy smashes against the dark horde, a volley of shadow arrows flies from the ranks. One strikes true, piercing his leg and sending a jolt of pain through his body. Despite the wound, his resolve only hardens. He knows there's only one option left. Focus all of the sword's power into a single, devastating strike. Knowing this is his only chance, he decides to pour every last drop of mana into his blade. The teal energy around him explodes outwards, crackling with raw power. With his eyes blazing and a ferocious roar, he unleashes his ultimate move, the Spider Cut. A hurricane of luminous slashes rips across the battlefield in a chaotic storm of pure energy. The shadow soldiers are instantly caught in the whirlwind, their dark forms being shredded and erased from existence. The entire horde is engulfed by the attack, vanishing in a brilliant flash of power. The hurricane of light rips the shadow army to shreds, but one monstrous commander endures the onslaught. It admits the attack was tough, but not enough to finish the job. As Sora closes in for the final blow, the creature glares, its eyes glowing with purple malice. A dark magic circle erupts, shielding its form from the relentless slashes. With a defiant roar, the monster declares that Sora is no match for it, as shadowy energy surges and reinforces its skeletal frame against the hero's powerful assault. The skeletal commander scoffs, questioning how a mere human's weapon could possibly break through its defense. Vowing to turn Sora's hope into ashes, it reinforces its dark magic shield. But as Sora's teal blade smashes into the barrier, an ear-splitting, grating noise rips through the air. The monster recoils in confusion, wondering about the sound. All around the battlefield, soldiers and onlookers clutch their heads and cry out in pain, completely overwhelmed by the unbearable shriek emanating from the clash of pure power. The commander's dark magic shield instantly shatters like glass. It turns out the creature only blocked the physical slash, not the real attack. An ally watching from afar reveals the true power of Sora's Howlblade. It unleashes an unstoppable sonic wave. This roar-like attack suppresses the enemy's movements, leaving them completely vulnerable. As the sonic waves tear through its body, the skeletal monster shrieks in agony. But even as it breaks apart, the creature boasts that Sora has already been caught in its trap. The skeletal commander can't believe its movements were sealed by sound waves. Seeing the monster stunned, Sora lunges forward, declaring this is his chance to end it. But the creature scoffs, telling him not to celebrate yet. It reveals its trap. The moment Sora thinks he's won is when he's at his weakest. Suddenly, a notification appears. The monster's divine blessing has cut the stun duration in half. Realizing his window is closing fast, Sora pushes himself to move even quicker, desperate to finish the fight before time runs out. Sora surges forward, knowing this is his final chance to finish the skeletal commander. From the sidelines, his allies watch in dread, seeing the monster already shaking off the stun. Pushing his speed to the absolute limit, Sora brings his glowing blade just inches from the creature's skull. Victory is within his grasp. But then, everything stops. His attack is halted right before impact. The commander has regained control. Staring in shock, Sora and his team realize the horrible truth. They were too late. It's over. The tables turn in an instant. The skeletal commander unleashes a wave of dark purple energy, its massive hand snapping shut around Sora. The sheer force is overwhelming, and Sora cries out as he's caught in the crushing grip. A triumphant, chilling laugh echoes from the monster as it looks down on its helpless prey. Declaring the fight over, the commander makes a horrifying proclamation. Sora will be stripped of his will and forced to become its ghostly servant for all eternity. The situation is hopeless. Just as the skeletal commander celebrates its victory, a strange notification appears. Sora's Hades mark is powering up at an unbelievable rate, leaving the monster utterly confused. On the ground, Sora's allies see their chance, resolving they can't just stand by and watch. But before they can intervene, a colossal, glowing goddess descends from the heavens. With divine authority, she declares that no one is allowed to interfere in a sacred battle. Shocked by this sudden arrival, the skeletal commander demands to know who she is. The divine goddess is suddenly alarmed by a powerful vibration. She wonders who could possibly be attacking her sacred barrier, especially since the boss should be guarding the exterior. Before she can react, the sky darkens and a colossal bolt of lightning descends, striking her glowing form directly. The immense power causes her divine projection to crack and then shatter into countless pieces. The goddess shouts in horror that her barrier has been breached. She recognizes the attack. It's the boss's lightning. As the truth hits her, she realizes what's truly happening. As the goddess reels from the boss's attack, a mysterious white-haired man watches from a distance, relieved he made it in time. On the ground, Sora's allies see their opening and yell for him to fight back. Refusing to give up, Sora channels a storm of raw lightning into his fist. With a defiant roar, he unleashes the electric fury point-blank into the skeletal commander's face. The monster can only scream in agony as the powerful blast engulfs its head, a direct hit that changes everything. The skeletal commander reels from the electrifying punch but just laughs it off. It drops a horrifying truth bomb, declaring that Sora's own father is now its puppet. Just then, a man looking exactly like his dad appears, his body twisted by dark energy. Before Sora can process this, the geezer charges forward, creating an opening. Taking the chance, Abyss Seed lands and thanks the old man for the assist. He instantly lunges at the distracted commander, landing a decisive strike and leaving the powerful monster completely stunned by the unexpected attack. The skeletal commander screams in agony as Abyss Seed catches its arm. With a single crushing squeeze, he channels an insane amount of power, completely disintegrating the monster's limb into dust. The sudden, overwhelming display of force leaves everyone speechless. As Sora stumbles forward, Abyss Seed effortlessly holds him back, stepping between him and the enemy. Fixing his glowing purple gaze on the commander, he makes a bold promise. As long as he's there, he won't let anyone else perish. This fight is now his to finish. As the skeletal commander recoils in agony, Sora rushes to support his corrupted father. Abyss Seed appears beside them, noting that the skeleton is just a distraction. The real threat is a man outside the barrier firing off powerful lightning. Mukai Licht, the Storm Priest. Abyss Seed declares him the strongest opponent he's met since leaving the Abyss. Suddenly, Licht confronts him directly, questioning why he's come back for Sora. Confused, Sora realizes the lightning didn't harm him, just as it's revealed that Abyss Seed secretly took the full force of the blast for him. Abyss Seed smirks, lightning arcing across his body. He thinks it's strange that he handled the Storm Priest's insane power so easily, but decides there's no time to dwell on it. His priority is clear. He must take down Mukai Licht first. Just as the one-on-one is about to begin, new challengers suddenly appear on the battlefield. A blonde woman, flanked by a massive golem, declares the situation amusing. From the other side, another man calls out, completely interrupting the tense standoff. The fight just got a lot more complicated. The woman with the laurel wreath smirks, realizing that with the barrier gone, the old rules no longer apply. Taking this as his cue, her burly companion roars at the monk, Shuzenji, challenging him to another round. Power crackles around his fist as he launches forward, and the two warriors rocket into the sky in a powerful clash. His partner watches, suspecting their boss is allowing the brawl to gauge their opponent's true strength. Deciding she can't just spectate, she summons her own golden power and shouts for another fighter to join the fray. The monk, Shuzenji, glares, telling his opponent to worry about herself. An assassin has just appeared at the perfect moment. Elsewhere, the golem tamer screams at her monstrous subordinate, Shiraya. She yells that losing just one arm is no excuse to back down from the fight. Enraged, the skeletal beast roars that he knows what to do, declaring that no one can escape death. He unleashes a terrifying storm of dark energy and lunges forward, ready to overwhelm the unmoving monk who stands firmly in his path. Sora yells at the geezer, entrusting his dad and the others to his protection. Though surprised, the old man understands and unleashes a mighty roar, slamming his fist into the ground. The earth splits apart, carving a massive chasm that isolates Sora with Abyss Seed. Finally, free to fight without holding back, Sora's eyes glow with determination. He silently vows that anyone who dares to harm his family will face his full wrath. As he prepares for battle, the monk and the barbarian continue their own explosive clash nearby. The barbarian, Xiaosei, is completely stunned as Abyss Seed appears in a blur of motion. Before he can react, the antagonist is already on him, declaring that the first one is down. Xiaosei screams in disbelief at the incredible speed, desperately trying to mount a defense. But it's useless. A single powerful kick connects with brutal force, sending the barbarian flying backward with a pained roar. His partner, the woman with the laurel wreath, watches in utter shock. She can't believe her powerful companion was defeated in just one hit. With her companion down, the woman with the laurel wreath desperately yelled at Shuzenji to handle the incoming spirits. The monk instantly agreed, his eyes glowing with power. He unleashed a silent curse, and a brilliant wave of golden light erupted from his position, slamming into the shadowy horde. The spirits were completely overwhelmed by the sacred energy. Watching her forces get obliterated, the golem tamer gritted her teeth in frustration. Realizing she was outmatched, she quickly summoned a massive Valkyrie shield to protect herself from the blast. The golem tamer lunged forward, her sword slicing through the air. She silently admitted she didn't want to fight a monster like him. But the monk was unimpressed. He declared that he had no choice, and caught the blade with his bare arm. Before she could react, Shuzenji unleashed a vicious flurry of strikes, pummeling her with incredible speed. Completely overwhelmed, the woman could only take the punishment, desperately wondering why her boss hadn't stepped in to help. She was getting absolutely rocked. With the golem tamer defeated, Abyss Seed appeared in the sky, calling her worthless trash. But just as he moved to finish the job, the storm priest Mukai intercepted the attack. He casually stopped the divine weapon, asking if his opponent forgot she was under a curse of weakness. With a chilling grin, Mukai dedicated his counterattack to Mukushima's wife, gathering a massive boulder from the earth. Sensing this immense divine energy, the monk Shuzenji knew he had to intervene, preparing to activate his heavenly eye to save his ally. With his eyes glowing, the monk Shuzenji declared he would activate his Dharma phase in the shortest time possible. But the storm priest Mukai just laughed, refusing to give him a single moment to chant. Calling him an insect who should just perish, Mukai immediately unleashed his divine power. A massive spear of pure lightning descended from the sky. The monk realized his mistake too late. The divine weapon slammed into the earth with overwhelming force, shattering the ground and engulfing the entire area in a brilliant, destructive light. The monk Shuzenji stared in disbelief as the storm priest's divine lightning slammed into the earth. An immense explosion of pure energy erupted, completely obliterating the landscape and turning the battlefield into a smoldering crater. For a moment, there was only silence and dust. But then, a single hand clawed its way out from beneath the shattered rock. Shuzenji had somehow survived the overwhelming attack. He pushed himself from the debris, letting out a weary breath, clearly weakened but still standing. After taking the full force of the blast, suddenly lost in a haze, Mukai Licht cries out for his mother. He blindly deflects an attack, screaming for his foe to get out of his way before smashing his fist into a golden barrier with tremendous force. Stunned, he looks at his hand, questioning the sudden increase in the shield's power. The golem tamer smirks, hoping the last hit cleared his head. A system window then appears before Mukai. The curse of weakness has been dispelled, and his level instantly skyrockets from 72 all the way up to 106. Tonosaki grabs Mukai by the face, demanding that he move, but he's completely frozen. Leaning in close, she delivers a devastating blow. The only reason his mother's curse was broken, she sneers, is because she has likely passed away. The revelation shatters his composure. With a furious roar for her to be silent, Mukai sends the golem tamer flying with a powerful kick. Tonosaki smirks, thinking he's lost his will to fight. She summons a golden spear, but as Mukai overflows with incredible power, she realizes her taunt was a huge mistake. Tonosaki unleashes a brutal assault, slamming Mukai with golden energy attacks. Lost in grief, he cries out for his mother as he's wrapped in divine chains. He desperately fights back, but realizes he can't deal any damage. Confused by his resilience, Tonosaki activates her Search Eye skill to analyze him. The results are beyond anything she could imagine. Mukai possesses divine power greater than a god's. Even worse, a black hole inside him is absorbing her attacks and converting them into his own strength. She stares in terror, questioning what kind of monster she's unleashed, realizing Mukai is just a beast who can't properly wield his new abilities. Tonosaki understands why her boss ordered his demise. She declares he cannot be allowed to live. Activating her sacred aura to boost her stats, she screams for her allies to lend her their strength. But Mukai is finally free. He bellows that, with the curse broken, he can summon his true weapon. A horrifying skeletal warrior appears, swinging its massive scythe. Suddenly, two other fighters ambush Mukai, knowing they must end him before he fully masters his divine power. Just as Mukai summons his warrior, two more enemies ambush him, declaring that his journey ends now. They believe he's too dangerous to be allowed to live, but as they move in for the final blow, Mukai whispers his mother's name. A shocking realization suddenly hits him. She's still alive. His skeletal warrior unleashes its soul chain, but instead of attacking, it completely binds the two ambushers, stopping them in their tracks. Far away, trapped beneath a mountain of rubble, his mother weakly calls out for Sora. Mukai screams for his mother as his power explodes outwards. The soul chains shatter, and one of the ambushers cries out, unable to contain the overwhelming force. Ignoring the ongoing fight, Mukai desperately races toward the pile of rubble where he sensed her, but his hope instantly turns to ash. He collapses to his knees, staring in disbelief at the lifeless forms of his parents. Tears stream down his face as he clutches his head, a devastating scream of denial ripping from his throat, his world completely falling apart. As Sora desperately clings to his mother, she weakly tells him it's enough. He screams in denial, refusing to accept this reality. With her last bit of strength, she tells him not to worry and to just run, insisting he must walk on his own from now on. She promises to always watch over him, lost in his despair. Sora doesn't see one of his enemies seize the opportunity, declaring this is his chance. The ambusher lunges forward, swinging his blade down to end the grieving boy's life. Just as the blade descends, Sora disappears. In the blink of an eye, he's right in the ambusher's face, eyes blazing with furious energy. Before the man can even react, Sora unleashes a devastating punch. The powerful blade, described as a knife of divine power, shatters into countless fragments. The attacker is blown away, completely shocked that his weapon was destroyed with a single hit. His angelic partner reels from the shockwave, screaming a desperate warning not to fight Sora directly, but it's already too late. The angel woman grits her teeth, raising her golden shield to defend against Sora's onslaught. But it's no use. Consumed by rage, Sora lets out a devastating roar and attacks. He smashes his fist into the shield, denting the supposedly unbreakable metal. The angel stares in disbelief at his raw power. As his hair turns stark white and his eyes glow with purple fury, Sora grabs the shield and vows to end every single one of them. With a final, explosive burst of power, he shatters the divine shield, leaving his enemy completely defenseless. The angel woman stares in utter shock, realizing Sora absorbed their divine power to become even stronger. She desperately screams at her allies, warning them not to use their sacred abilities against him. But her warning comes too late. In a blur of purple energy, Sora is already in her face, his fist clenched tight. Her eyes widen in terror. She knows there's no time to dodge. He unleashes a single, devastating punch, and the force of the blow sends her flying backward through the air, completely overwhelmed by his newfound, terrifying strength. The stealth attacker is sent flying, reeling in disbelief. He can't fathom how Sora not only absorbed his divine power, but also saw straight through his cloaking ability. Seeing her allies defeated, the downed woman tries a new tactic, mocking Sora for having fun while forgetting something important. A monstrous skeleton warrior erupts from the ground behind her as she screams that he abandoned his dying mother. But as the creature moves to attack, the monk, Shuzenji Yukio, leaps forward, vowing that he won't let it pass. The monstrous skeleton mocks Shuzenji, calling him a weakling before sending him flying with a brutal kick. Sora yells his ally's name, watching helplessly as the monk is taken down. The defeated angel woman smirks from the ground, revealing that this was all part of her plan. With his target distracted, the skeleton warrior wastes no time. It gathers a terrifying amount of purple energy and unleashes a massive blast called Death Flame. Caught in the torrent of power, Sora can only grit his teeth in frustration as the explosion engulfs him. The smoke clears, and the enemy attacker stares in disbelief. Sora stands completely unharmed, having blocked the entire blast. The monstrous skeleton realizes its mistake, understanding that Sora can absorb divine power. Furious, it challenges Sora to take another hit and unleashes an even bigger death flame. But the defeated angel woman screams from the ground, calling the skeleton an idiot for feeding Sora more power. She realizes their strongest attacks are useless, desperately trying to think of a new strategy as Sora just gets stronger. The monstrous skeleton roars that its attack is useless as Sora effortlessly absorbs the massive blast. His own power growing, realizing her mistake, the angel woman devises a new strategy. If divine power can't hurt him directly, she'll wrap it around stones and launch them like bullets. She then threatens to go after his dying mother, daring him to try and stop her. Enraged, Sora can only brace himself as a barrage of energized stones slams into his body, the physical impacts proving brutally effective. The angel woman laughs maniacally, telling Sora to keep burning himself out as she orders everyone to attack at once. The barrage of energized stones intensifies, relentlessly pummeling Sora's body. He tries to endure the brutal onslaught, but the physical impacts are overwhelming. Beaten and bleeding, tears stream down his face as he whispers that it's enough. But in that moment of despair, his sorrow turns into pure rage. He screams in defiance, vowing to take them all down. He declares that if he can't even protect his family, then his life has no meaning. From the sidelines, the storm priest Mukai Licht watches Sora's emotional outburst, scoffing that his love for his family is sickening. Unimpressed by Sora's ability to absorb divine power, Licht declares the fight is over. He summons a legendary weapon, the Blade of Atropos, a divine relic that can sever the threads of fate. He boasts that this weapon can cut through any divine energy, rendering Sora's unique skill completely useless. With a smirk, Licht begins molding the blade into a devastating arrow, preparing to end Sora for good. With a twisted smile, Mukai Licht boasts that his next attack will be impossible to block. He declares his intent to sever Sora's very fate with the divine arrow. As he channels his power, a shockwave erupts, slamming the monk Shuzenji Yukio to the ground. Staring at the overwhelming divine energy in the sky, the monk desperately yells for Sora to run. Sora turns, distracted by the warning, only for Licht to mock him for worrying about others. Caught off guard, Sora can only stare back in confusion, his focus now broken. Before Licht can unleash his attack, a beaten man on the ground gasps Sora's name. Nearby, an injured woman tearfully whispers a final confession of love for Sora. Suddenly, they both erupt in a blinding pillar of blue energy, a massive offering shooting straight into the sky. This was never about Sora, it was a sacrifice. As the light surges, Mukai Licht watches with cold satisfaction. A system message appears confirming the offering to Zeus is complete and that the god is pleased. A woman stares at the empty space where Sora was, wondering aloud if he's really gone. Mukai Licht scoffs, telling her that's the least of their worries. With Zeus having accepted the offering, he explains the cold, hard truth. They've just declared war on every other guild in existence. He commands everyone to prepare for the inevitable conflict. Far below the battlefield, Sora's body plummets through the darkness, crashing into the icy water of a subterranean lake and sinking into the unknown depths. Deep within a dark, dripping cavern, a blonde swordsman silently drags a battered, white-haired man across the wet stone. The captive slowly regains consciousness, his thoughts a confusing haze. He wonders if he is even alive and where this strange place could be, his mind weakly calling out for his parents. Not far away, having washed ashore after his long fall, Sora lies on the ground. He watches the bizarre scene unfold in stunned silence, unable to process what he's seeing. This place held more secrets than he could have ever imagined. The captive's eyes flutter open, his mind hazy as he desperately calls out for his parents. He glares at the blonde swordsman, weakly accusing the man of breaking his promise to protect them. The swordsman is unmoved, coldly telling him a grown man shouldn't be crying. Confused and battered, the captive begs to know if his family is still alive. The swordsman stares down at him with contempt, questioning how someone so weak could have been chosen. He then offers a grim ultimatum: accept this fate, or fight for a different one. The swordsman coldly tells the captive to accept a harsh reality: his parents sacrificed themselves to save him. He orders the man to come with him, but the captive snaps, screaming that it's all a lie. He desperately grabs onto the swordsman's leg and demands to be released. In a moment of panic, he realizes his strength is completely gone. He's powerless. The swordsman glares down in fury, enraged that this weakling would dare to shout at him. He is clearly not a man to be trifled with. The blonde swordsman has had enough. He shoves the captive back to the ground, demanding he stop his pathetic whining. He coldly asks if this is how you treat the person who saved your life, warning that he could just as easily end it. The captive winces in pain, calling the man a monster. The swordsman then drops a devastating truth: the captive's link to divine power was severed. He is now just an ordinary, weak human. With a cruel smirk, the swordsman asks if he'll finally start behaving now. The blonde swordsman lays out a shocking offer. He reveals that a mysterious figure can restore the captive's severed link to his divine power and even teach him how to use it properly. He demands an answer. Will he come or not? The captive, battered and broken, clenches his fist in the dirt, his mind made up. The swordsman extends a hand, and the man accepts it, weakly agreeing to go. As he's pulled to his feet, the swordsman gives a final cold warning: don't mistake him for a good guy. As Mukai leads Sora away, a calm voice cuts through the darkness, demanding they identify themselves. A blindfolded monk named Shuzenji emerges, his expression grim. He turns to Sora and apologizes, admitting he failed to protect his parents. The monk explains that a backlash of divine power cast Sora deep underground, and he barely survived. Standing firm, Shuzenji forbids Mukai from taking the boy until he reveals the identity of a mysterious figure. Mukai's face hardens. Gripping his weapon, he declares that from this moment on, the monk is his enemy. As the blindfolded monk sinks into the murky depths, he makes a final vow. He declares that as long as he lives, he will fulfill the promise he made to Sora's parents. He warns Mukai that if he dares to use the boy's divine power for his own gain, he will never be forgiven. The blonde swordsman simply scoffs, mocking the nearly dead man for acting tough. The monk doesn't fear his end, but he can't bear failing his duty. He knows he won't be able to face Sora's parents in the afterlife otherwise. The blonde swordsman smirks, telling the monk to just ask the kid himself. Turning to Shuzenji, Sora's eyes burn with desperation. He admits he craves revenge, but is completely powerless. He shouts that if he can finally awaken his abilities, he doesn't care if someone misuses him. He'll accept the deal. The monk is stunned, whispering Sora's name in disbelief. Seeing the boy's fierce resolve, he finally relents. Shuzenji declares he won't object to Sora's choice, but before they leave, he insists that Sora at least take one thing with him. Shuzenji presents Sora with a sword, telling him it's the final gift from his parents. The moment Sora grips the hilt, a familiar energy flows through him. He recognizes the feeling of his parents' power. The monk explains this blade is special, holding the records of countless heroes who wielded it before. He warns Sora that its true strength can only be unlocked with divine power, which he currently lacks. The monk reveals he was entrusted with the sword, told to keep it safe until Sora was ready to claim his birthright. Sora clutched the sword, realizing his parents had used their foresight just for this moment. The blonde swordsman, Mukai, cut through his thoughts, asking if they were finished. Sora quietly agreed. As they walked deeper into the desolate landscape, Sora's mind raced. He had entered the tower, found his parents, and then lost them all over again. He wondered where he was even going and what fate awaited him. In the shadows, a sinister hooded figure sat on a throne, its presence looming over Sora's uncertain future. As they traveled through a vast cavern, the monk remarked that he never imagined such a huge space existed beneath the 6th refuge area. The blonde swordsman, Mukai, turned on him, demanding to know why he'd tagged along. With a serene smile, the monk explained he was there to protect the son of his deceased friends. Mukai scoffed, yelling that the monk was too weak to protect anyone. He asked if Shuzenji could actually defend Sora if they were attacked. Without hesitation, the monk simply replied that he could not. Mukai demanded to know how the monk would protect Sora if he couldn't even fight. With a serene smile, Shuzenji declared he would use his life. He explained that he once followed a prophecy that promised the best outcome, but it only led to a terrible end. Because of that tragedy, he no longer trusted fate or predictions. The only thing he believed in was his own life and his resolve to lay it down for Sora. Hearing this fierce declaration, Sora stared at the monk, completely stunned by his unwavering loyalty. Mukai reluctantly agreed to let the monk tag along, but warned him to follow his lead when they met the so-called god. As they walked, Sora was hit with a vivid memory of his mother's tragic end, questioning if that was really the best outcome she deserved. Cutting through the heavy silence, Shuzenji challenged Mukai directly. He asked if the god trapped in the cave was legitimate, or just a powerful liar. The arrogant swordsman simply scoffed, dismissing the question and continuing deeper into the cavern, leaving the monk's doubt hanging in the air. The white-haired commander, Yuasa, told Mukai that they were almost there and seeing the god's true form would erase any doubts. He then pressed the swordsman, asking what kind of god this entity was. With a smug look, Mukai warned him that its name was not one to be spoken lightly. He cut the chatter short, announcing that they had arrived. The group stepped into a cavern of unimaginable scale, littered with the ruins of massive structures. Staring at the unbelievable sight, the commander muttered in awe about its sheer size. In the heart of the colossal cavern, Mukai raised his hands as they pulsed with an intense blue light. With a look of fierce determination, he declared that with this raging fire, he would stand before the god. The energy erupted from his palms, forming a massive glowing symbol in the air. A brilliant pillar of light shot down, creating a mystical gateway. But as the others prepared to enter, Mukai blocked Sora and the monk. He coldly informed them they had to wait until the god granted them permission. Shuzenji then quietly warned Sora to be careful of this so-called cave god. The monk leaned in, whispering a warning to Sora. He explained that Sora's divine power was extraordinary and that this god might desire it. Sora simply acknowledged the warning, his face unreadable. Inside the portal, Yuasa told the others to move forward, announcing that the god of intrigue and flames awaited them. The title echoed in Sora's mind. Clenching his fist, he didn't care what kind of god it was. Whether it wanted to recruit or use him, Sora vowed that he would be the one to seize control of the situations. Sora walked alone up the massive stone steps, stepping into the heart of the sacred chamber. The moment his foot touched the final platform, the ground beneath him reacted, sending out ripples of brilliant blue light. Sora froze, his eyes wide with shock at the sudden phenomenon. From behind him, the blindfolded monk, Shuzenji, gasped in awe. He exclaimed that he could feel an overwhelming wave of divine power flooding the area. But this immense energy wasn't coming from a god. It was radiating directly from Sora himself. Sora's eyes locked onto the massive shadowed figure slumped on the throne. The sheer scale was just as he'd expected of a god. He connected the pieces, a giant of intrigue and flames, and realized he was standing before the Norse god, Loki. However, Sora noticed that the deity's form looked ancient and completely worn out. Suddenly, a raspy voice echoed from the throne, stating that he had finally come. A pair of glowing green eyes flared to life in the darkness of the hood, and Sora stood his ground, alert and ready. Loki, the god of intrigue, leaned forward, intrigued by the human before him. He commented on Sora's unusual calmness, stating that he was clearly no ordinary person. The god then asked if Sora had come seeking revenge for his family. With a burning gaze, Sora confirmed that was his sole reason for being there. Loki revealed that the link to Sora's divine power had been severed by a sacred artifact. He warned that restoring it would come at a steep price. Without a moment's hesitation, Sora declared he would offer anything to get his power back. Sora confidently told Loki that his willingness to sacrifice anything was exactly what the god wanted to hear. But as the deity remained silent, a sudden change swept over Sora. His hair turned stark white. He realized his initial offer wasn't enough. This piqued Loki's interest. With burning resolve, Sora declared he wanted more than just divine power. He demanded absolute, overwhelming strength to defeat all his enemies. His body flared with a dark purple aura as he passionately asked if Loki would grant him that ultimate power. Loki's glowing eyes narrowed as he warned Sora not to get arrogant. Enraged, the god questioned how a mortal dared speak to him with such disrespect. In an instant, an invisible force yanked Sora into the air and into the deity's massive hand. But instead of fear, Sora showed a defiant smirk. He taunted the god, asking if Loki's real plan was to absorb his divine power to fix his withered body. Absolutely furious at the insolence, Loki tightened his grip, causing Sora to cry out from the immense pressure. Even as Loki's grip tightened, Sora shot back a taunt, asking if he'd hit a nerve. He then roared for the god to hurry up, end his life, and just take his divine power already. Loki called it a bold claim, but Sora didn't stop, smirking as he questioned if the god was even capable of stealing it. Visibly annoyed, Loki dropped him. As Sora landed, the deity revealed a shocking truth. Sora's power did indeed belong to the Norse gods, but unlike theirs, it never ever waned. Sora finally put the pieces together. The strange energy he'd absorbed back in the tower was actually divine power from the Norse gods. He also realized Loki, for all his bluster, couldn't just take it from him. This put them on equal ground, revealing the god's own desperation. Seeing Sora's courage, Loki extended a massive hand, asking if a simple "pleased to meet you" would suffice. But the offer came with a chilling warning. Sora should remember the grim fates of mortals who had disrespected him in the ancient myths. Sora shot back a smirk, taunting Loki that empty threats would only damage his mythical reputation. The god grumbled, calling him an annoying brat, but a sudden coughing fit betrayed his weakened state. Realizing Loki was just an empty vessel without his power, Sora decided to play along. He asked the trickster what scheme he was proposing. Loki's plan was simple yet chilling. Sora had to return to the nightmarish dimension known as the Abyss. Loki laid out the grim reality of the situation. He explained that 16 divine towers had appeared on Earth, each one filled with the power of a different god. Although the towers of his fellow Norse gods were unlocked, none of them had awakened. Loki growled that he wouldn't let outsiders steal their power. Sora, ever the pragmatist, asked why the other gods were still dormant. In a blind rage, Loki roared that they had been betrayed. He promised to explain the details later, but for now he revealed their one common enemy, the Greek gods. Loki's voice thundered, promising Sora the absolute strength to crush any foe. He then presented a dangerous choice. The first option was to consume the legendary flame of the giant Surt. This would purify Sora's divine power, but it came with a terrible price. He would have to constantly feed the fire with his own energy, and if he ever ran out, the inferno would burn his body to ash. The second path was to plant a seed of the world tree inside himself, becoming the ultimate divine vessel, but Loki warned this road to power was staggeringly long. Sora considered the two paths, the parasitic flame or the slow-growing seed, but Loki, with a sinister grin, revealed a third, insane option: take both. He explained they could work together. Surt's flame would feed the world tree, making it grow at an incredible speed. In return, the tree would sacrifice its own branches and leaves as fuel, shielding Sora from the inferno. It was a perfect, dangerous synergy. But the god warned that if the balance ever broke, Sora's body would instantly turn to ash. Loki loomed over him, demanding his choice. But Sora saw right through the charade, smirking as he realized the god never intended to give him one. With zero hesitation, he declared he would take both. Fiery energy exploded in one hand, while the world tree's essence bloomed in the other. Pleased, Loki let out a booming laugh and unleashed a torrent of dark power that engulfed Sora. An agonizing scream ripped from his throat as the two conflicting forces were forcibly merged with his body, feeling as though he were being burned alive. Loki watched as the two opposing powers began to fuse inside Sora. The god found it ridiculous that the last hope of his people was now in the hands of a short-lived mortal. Meanwhile, miles away in a ruined city, the being known as the Abyss Seed suddenly faltered mid-battle. He cried out in shock, realizing his divine power was being forcefully siphoned away by an unknown thief. In a panic, he screamed that he would never allow them to enter the Norse Tower, feeling his strength rapidly fade. The scene shifts to a desolate, ruined city where two factions stand poised for battle. At the forefront of one group is Mukai Licht, the Storm Priest. He glances at the sky, calmly noting the date is the 17th. A cold, determined look settles on his face as he vows that they will obtain their prize, no matter the cost. Suddenly, raw, untamed lightning explodes from his body, crackling with immense power. His eyes glow with electricity as he prepares to unleash a storm on their enemies. This fight is just getting started. Loki's menacing form watched with glowing eyes, overseeing the brutal process. Sora screamed in agony as the conflicting energies ripped through his body, lifting him helplessly into the air. Watching from afar, Mukai Licht realized with horror that the kid was actually trying to fuse the two opposing forces. Beside him, Shuzenji Yukio silently urged Sora to hang on. With one final, deafening roar, Sora's body erupted in a blinding pillar of light. His hair turned stark white as the raw power completely transformed him from within. The blinding light fades, leaving Sora standing in a strange otherworldly realm. He wonders if this is his spiritual world as he stares in awe at a colossal, majestic tree. He realizes this must be the world tree seed he planted, now grown to an unbelievable size. Suddenly, his attention is drawn to a massive, glowing green figure formed from pure energy. A powerful voice echoes in his mind, telling Sora that through his chaotic divine power, it can see his entire past and all that he has endured. A new journey is about to begin. The colossal green entity explains that Sora's spiritual world has been burned to ash by his own rage. It identifies itself as a messenger of Yggdrasil, wanting to prevent further tragedies. The being offers to restore the scorched land, turning it green again. But Sora is no fool. He knows an offer this good must have a catch. The entity proposes a win-win situation, asking Sora to accept it as his overseer. Before he can respond, a golden streak of energy blasts past as an unseen voice warns him not to be fooled. A being of pure golden flame erupts onto the scene, striking the green giant with incredible force. The fiery newcomer screams that the messenger's offer is a complete lie, designed only to make Sora a slave to Yggdrasil. The real, horrifying plan is to use Sora to turn the entire human world into food for the world tree. As the green entity cracks from the powerful assault, the Golden Warrior makes a final declaration. It proclaims that Sora will never serve Yggdrasil, because the giant searcher's flames will burn everything to ash first. The green entity roars in denial, but the Golden Warrior cuts it off. It screams at the Yggdrasil messenger, demanding it look around at Sora's inner world. Everything is a scorched wasteland. The warrior reveals that aside from the tree, Sora's entire spiritual realm has already been burned to cinders by his own power. Unfazed, the green giant ignores the fiery being and turns its massive head toward Sora. It commands him to choose a side, but before he can, the entity materializes a glowing green book, insisting he read it very carefully first. Sora's eyes lock onto the glowing green pages as they float toward him. He snatches the book from the air, instantly recognizing it as an Asura's book. It lays out a three-step process to gain immense power. First, choose an overseer who represents the gods. Second, become a candidate. And third, enter the abyss to fight all the other hopefuls to the bitter end. The ultimate winner gets crowned the Asura, receiving divine armor and the right to control the tower, but always under the watchful eye of their overseers. Sora realizes what's happening. The two beings fighting over him are Searcher's Flame and the World Tree, legendary powers from Norse mythology. They're both trying to become his overseer. The green giant scoffs, telling Sora he can't handle this level of power and demanding he pick a side. But Sora is completely calm. He cuts them off, saying they're missing the entire point. They're acting like this is some kind of blessing, but he sees the truth. No matter who he chooses, he's just picking which master to become a slave to. A dark, twisted version of Sora emerges, his eyes glowing red with malice. He scoffs at their offer, declaring that they've got it all backward. They are under his power, and they will be his slaves. Before either entity can react, his shadowy hand lunges forward and grabs the tiny flame warrior. The fiery being screams to be released, but Sora's form shoves the protesting spirit into its mouth and swallows it whole. The World Tree, now trapped as a green emblem on his chest, watches in silent horror. Sora lets out a satisfied burp, announcing his new purpose. From this day forward, even gods are his prey. The illusion of a peaceful world shatters like glass, throwing Sora back into the dark abyss. He finds himself facing the cloaked geezer, who smirks and asks what he will choose, revealing that this was all a trap. But Sora rises, a defiant grin on his face. He flashes a fiery new emblem on his hand, asking the old man if he can't see the truth. Before the geezer can react, Sora calls him a fool and lunges forward, sword aimed true. He's not here to be a candidate, he's here to hunt. The geezer stares in disbelief at the strange new emblem on Sora's hand. He realizes it's neither the giant's flame nor the world tree, questioning if Sora somehow fused both impossible powers within himself. Suddenly, a system-wide alert blares out. The first candidate for the 17th tower has appeared, gaining early access. Elsewhere, other contenders are stunned by the news. Realizing someone is already ahead, a woman wonders if it's the infamous Koshu. With no time to waste, the teams are forced to charge forward through the ruined city.